The greatest SS rank assassin sacrifices himself after humanity is wiped out, only to wake up 7 years in the past as a weak outcast student. But the real shock? He returned possessing the Absolute Devour System, the exact same demonic power the Emperor of Hell used to kill him. In this video, watch how Chen transforms from the Academy's laughingstock into a one-man army, using demonic powers to brutally crush his bullies and literally shattering the Academy's assessment machine just by unleashing a fraction of his aura. But what happens when he publicly humiliates the top student council leader? And how will he prepare for the hellish invasion that gets closer every single day? In the year 2167, planet Earth witnessed a complete demonic invasion that turned it into scattered ash. In short, humanity fell. Amidst the ruins of human civilization and the sound of ragged breaths, he emerged as the sole resistor in the face of annihilation, standing in a final defiance as the last SS-rank assassin facing bloody death with unbreakable gazes. Recalling the memory of the dark days, 7 years ago, the armies of the Demon Kings abruptly and mercilessly invaded our world. Do you call yourself humanity's last hope? Your entire race is nothing but worthless scum. The beast then prepared, opening its terrifying jaws to devour him as a final hearty meal, as devastating crimson energy began gathering and condensing between the Demon King's sharp claws. Now, I will absorb every drop of your life essence to become my energy. Moments later, the roaring crimson energy torrent unleashed to completely erase him from existence. That bloody storm completely swallowed his body, hiding him amidst a vortex of doom. My little sister, my comrades, my master. Overwhelmed by a massive anger for losing everyone he loved, he screamed in the face of death, "You took everything from me," pledging to himself with absolute resolve to drag the tyrant down with him. "If this is for them, then I'll drag you with me to hell." Ultimate skill, flare of annihilation. The shock of the explosion struck the area, freezing the Hell Emperor in place from the horror of the sudden power. And as the white flare gradually obliterated him, he smiled at death with the bitter smile of a defeated victor. In that final flash, he conjured the image of his sister, whispering longingly, "Sion, I'll see you soon." Then a phantom of his wise master manifested, standing before him in the remaining final moments of his life. Followed by the appearance of his absent parents, in the flash of agony, he whispered with a broken heart, "Mother, Father." Then his soul began tearing with fatal sorrow over his complete inability to protect them and save them from this fate, realizing with a fatal realization that discovering the rifts early would have changed destiny. If only I had been a little stronger. And certain that aborting the birth of the first emperor would have erased the catastrophe. If I could turn back time and prevent the first emperor from appearing. Reaching total certainty that an early confrontation would have prevented the loss. Why did I lose everything so quickly? Immediately after, an absolute darkness swallowed the entire scene, bringing down the curtain on the end of the world. Everything faded for him to return and slowly regain consciousness amidst blurred, distorted vision. As his eyes opened with extreme heaviness and pain, as if waking from a long, dark nightmare. Instead of inevitable death, he found himself lying in his old room, on that familiar medical bed. "I'm not dead?" He began casting confused glances, denouncing the reality of time and space. "Where am I? Wasn't the world destroyed? Where did all these humans come from?" Then he headed toward the window with trembling legs, trying to explore his surroundings and understand what was going on around him, to be shocked that the quiet university campus before him completely contradicted the recent hell of his memory. Struck by the shock of life returning to a world and people swallowed by annihilation before his eyes moments ago. It took me some time to accept this reality, to realize that the impossible had come true by the return of time. I returned to the damn university days, 10 years ago from now. Suddenly, the screen flashed and a cold, mechanical voice of unknown origin pierced the silence of his reverie, as a blue interface announced the completely successful integration of the talent, displaying "Integration of Gluttony Power Complete." His trembling hand nervously grabbed his device's screen to read the data displayed before him. The device's screen firmly confirmed the actual date for him, May 16, 2157. Clenching his fist tightly until his knuckles turned white. May 16, 2157? That means... Realizing that he still has exactly 3 years to prepare, that I am standing now a full 3 years before the first Emperor's appearance. That Fire Emperor will tear through dimensions with his dominant power to bring total destruction to the world, behind whom merciless mutant hordes will crawl, aiming to swallow the earth and everyone on it. Here his eyes ignited with invincible resolve and a mad desire for revenge and to protect what remained. Crushing the first Emperor is the key to turning destiny. Wrath was the one who opened the gates of hell, and now the golden opportunity is in his hands to annihilate this tyrant before his birth. But the Absolute Devourer interface's flash returned to stir his confusion and questions once again, as that glowing panel remained solidly floating before him, like a mysterious shadow accompanying him since his miraculous awakening. The revelation of the system's statistics before him being the first starting spark toward the anticipated journey of ascent, knitting his brows in surprise. But what's up with this screen called Gluttony system? For in his past life, he relied entirely on his instinct as an awakened. Stats like video games? In my past life, I fought with my bare instinct. For in his past life, he relied entirely on his instinct as an awakened, especially since the percentage of people who obtain awakening and superpowers is only 1 in 10,000, and since awakened academies only accept the elite. The National University here only accepts the talented elite, while he was just an ordinary person without powers. But in the past, I was a bug at the bottom of the food chain, reaching the conclusion that his presence in the medical bed was inevitable. Everyone kicked me, and that's why I'm in the clinic now. His thoughts were interrupted by the sudden appearance of a mysterious icon before him, moving smoothly to reveal the awaited surprise. An interface screen dedicated to the Lightning Assassin class opened, announcing, "Archive file, Lightning Assassin." Lightning Assassin? Isn't that my class in my past life? I can feel the energy coursing through my veins. Realizing that his awakening happened very early in this timeline. Did I inherit my powers and awaken early? Immediately starting to examine his class options through the panel enthusiastically. Let's put this to the real test now. But soon, the interface suddenly disappeared, returning him to his surrounding confusing reality, following his friend entering the room in shock after the door burst open with a sudden slam. "Dude, you're awake? Are you okay?" From his friend's reaction, he came to a quick conclusion that others can never see the system interface. "Damn, what is this? Your bruises and wounds have completely disappeared? How did you recover faster than me when I'm the awakened one here?" Contemplating his friend's face in a silence laden with bitterness, remembering the reality of his friend being killed in the future during the invasion. In the past, his body was brutally torn apart on the 3rd day of the invasion, finally grasping the reality of his return in time. But now he is alive and well. Only now I truly felt the sanctity of the return. His friend suddenly slapped his forehead. "Damn it, tomorrow is the final rank test," confirming that passing the assessment is a fundamental condition for graduation. "I know you haven't awakened yet, but it's important for our graduation. Move, come on." And so the two friends left the clinic heading to the crowded university campus, watching the students training and resting in the courtyards in a surreal scene unbelievable to someone who lived through the end of the world, where the campus was bustling with vitality and activity, and life pulsed strongly in every corner. It's been a very long time since I saw this many living humans. "What are you babbling about? Let's walk around the track to clear your mind of this nonsense." With sharp looks, he remembered his tragic past and the state of helplessness he lived bitterly, strongly determined not to allow the tragedies of the past to repeat. "I lost everything once, and this will never happen again." Making a decisive decision about the necessity of gaining power as quickly as possible to change the future. I must raise my rank as quickly as possible. And because the only way to increase power is to fight mutants and annihilate them inside the Dark Abyss rifts, which the guilds completely monopolize, he wondered about his current rank, where he stands now, especially since most students are classified in rank E, while only the elite reach D, curiously wondering about the awaited rank. I wonder, how will the academy scale evaluate my current energy in the test? Deep down, realizing that he had become much stronger than his previous weak level, he was ready to be fully prepared. But suddenly, a sudden collision occurred. A stray basketball hit his friend's face forcefully, leading to a resounding fall for him on the ground, his nose bleeding and his medical glasses flying away, as they noticed a group of bullying students approaching them with confident steps and provocative looks. The leader stepped forward, insolently bragging, "Yo, isn't this C-Chan and Ma Long? You two recovered pathetically fast, huh?" Wiping his blood in terror. "Damn, our rotten luck, we ran into him again," while he faced the gang with deadly cold glares, devoid of any shred of panic or retreat. The bully laughed to his cronies. "See, I told you these two frail bodies take punches excellently." He then began scolding them with entitlement. "Do you know I'm playing here? So why didn't you bring cold drinks as sacrifices of obedience to me?" Trembling submissively, his friend bowed. I'm really sorry. I'll go buy them right away for you." With an icy gaze piercing the soul, his arm suddenly extended, gripping his shoulder with steel strength. "Stop long. It's not your fault to apologize. Rather, they're the ones who owe you an apology that wipes the floor with their pride." Here, the clouds of memory cleared from his mind, matching the face of the bully before him with the worst nightmares of his painful past. Black memories of his humiliating suffocation in the toilet water surfaced, while their sadistic laughter echoed like the voices of demons. Recalling the horrific moments of their torture under the pretext of stimulating his awakening, pushing him time and time again toward the cold edge of death, he remembered how his friend was brutally beaten right in front of him during desperate attempts to save him in that dark past. An unshakable certainty settled in his heart that absolute evil is never limited to the ravaging rift monsters. Rather, he bitterly realized that the brutality of humans often exceeds the most despicable demons of the abyss he had ever faced. As the gathered students exchanged glances, whispering sarcastically, "Look, Guangchang is going to beat them up again." The tyrant's features ignited with anger at his pride being publicly scratched, prompting his friend to silently plead with him in sheer terror to stop this rebellion that seemed suicidal and deadly. Screaming, the bully's features blazed with blind rage. "What did you just say? It seems you need another lesson." He lunged like a rank 5 fighter to crush his prey. In contrast, he faced this violent rush with icy coldness, despising his opponent's cowardice, whom he now saw as a mere insect, secretly realizing that this bully's influence was nothing but a pale shadow of his leader brother, and that he lacked any actual combat skill. While the bastard's entourage gathered around them, maliciously and eagerly waiting for the usual theatrical crushing of the two boys to begin, the opponent approached, surrounded by a faint magical aura, throwing a punch that seemed to him crushing and enough to end it all. But he rooted himself in place like an immovable mountain, unbothered by the furious tyrant's roar that tore through the air. Arrogantly, the bully challenged him, demanding that he repeat his rebellious words if he dared to do so. An icy, decisive response came from him, demanding the opponent to get out of his sight immediately and without any discussion. At that moment, the bastard lost his mind completely and threw a reckless punch charged with anger, only to end in a shocking surprise that silenced everyone. With a resounding crash, he stopped the massive attack with the palm of his hand in total coldness, as if blocking a weightless, fluttering feather. The rebounding force of the block harshly threw the attacker's body backward, making him stagger and lose his balance pathetically. An absolute bewilderment prevailed, silencing the expectant crowd's tongues, as students whispered in shock. What just happened?" Silent questions began to gnaw at their minds about how an ordinary, unawakened student managed to block a deadly attack this simply. Stepping back, his face burning red with anger at his shattered prestige, the bully screamed, "How dare a weak insect like you challenge me?" A cold, demonic smile formed on his lips after finding a victim to test his powers on, whispering, "Let's try this on you. You are a perfect lab rat." Suddenly, with the announcement of the complete switch, golden sparks exploded, transforming him into a living storm, embodying the skills of the lightning assassin. His friend's jaw dropped in absolute shock and awe as he watched this legendary and terrifying awakening. Amidst the roaring flash of lightning, he raised his hand in a provocative gesture, inviting his opponent to step forward and meet his doom. The opponent screamed in desperation, summoning his skill, Immortal Demon Shield, transforming his arm into a massive, impenetrable rocky mass. Rushing forward with a stone punch like a crushing meteor to end his life, he roared, "I see you've forgotten the taste of my deadly punch." But he evaded the strike with the agility of an unseen ghost, lunging with a sudden counterattack that exceeded the speed of sight. His electrified fist sank with merciless cruelty right into the center of the bastard's face, shattering his defenses. With the echo of a thunderous explosion, a single punch was enough to send the bully flying through the air like a broken doll. The crowd's minds froze in terror where they stood, unable to believe the horror of the overwhelming scene that had just occurred before them. The terrifying and lightning-fast speed of the crushing far exceeded the attendees' capacity to analyze or understand. Falling to the ground spitting blood, he tried to justify his humiliating defeat by screaming, "He managed to ambush and betray me." Following it up with hysterical screaming, he ordered his followers to intervene. "Why are you just standing and watching? I will kill you!" However, the gang stiffened in their places in terror like statues, completely ignoring the orders of his broken leader, for his suffocating energy emitting like a hurricane paralyzed the movement of anyone who even dared to think about approaching. The tyrant staggered to his feet with difficulty, vowing to tear his opponent to pieces in one last desperate attempt. Yet he blocked the rushing attack with deadly coldness, without the slightest noticeable effort, as if he were toying with a child. His electrified fist touched the attacker's arm and burned it, wrenching from him resounding screams of pain that shook the arena. Looking down on him with an overwhelming presence, he confirmed to him in an icy whisper that he was too pathetic to even be a rival. "You are too weak." Followed by a lightning-fast shattering punch that completely crushed the bully's jaw, putting a bloody end to this fight, sending the bastard's heavy body flying through the air with humiliating weakness, like a broken doll that had lost its strings. His trajectory ended with a violent and resounding crash as the opponent's body slammed against the harsh stone wall of the arena, leaving behind a crater and deep cracks carved into the wall, immortalizing the humiliating fall of their arrogant leader. Here, an absolute silence swallowed the crowds, frozen in panic and awe of this mighty brutality they'd never witnessed before. Glued to his spot, unable to comprehend the scene unfolding before him, his friend murmured in shock, "Sichin, when did he get so strong?" Drowning in a harsh existential shock at his formerly weak friend's transformation into this terrifying entity standing before him. As for the hero, he ignored all the bewilderment surrounding him, diving into studying his system data and analyzing it in complete silence, secretly confirming his full control while coldly analyzing the situation. "I can switch to the Lightning Assassin class whenever I wish," realizing a shocking truth. "This explains why my normal body is stronger than rank E. Its constitution exceeds it by unclassified leaps." However, the euphoria of this new power suddenly collided with a mysterious problem that surfaced right after the victory. He stared at the interface in confusion, wondering, why haven't my stats changed, and why haven't I gained any experience points despite crushing the opponent? At that moment, an electrified blade flashed and suddenly appeared in his hand, instinctively searching for a true way to upgrade and gain power. He began stepping with deadly slowness toward the collapsed body, the appearance of the weapon sparking the crowd's hysteria and terror at his obvious killing intent. Pointing the blade directly at the opponent's vein, planting absolute terror while his friend screamed in panic. "Chen, wait, what are you doing?" While his eyes sparked with dark menace, his thoughts dove into a bloody possibility that required actual bloodshed to gain experience points, just like before. While his eyes burned, his primal resolve led him to whisper a threat to himself. My primal resolve was guiding me to take this bully's soul and send him to meet his ancestors without an ounce of mercy. But suddenly, a firm female voice pierced the air to bring everyone back to reality, reminding the hero of the strict campus rules. As she stepped forward with a sly smile, she intervened to end the conflict.
"Hey, you know we're on a school campus, right? Don't you think this punishment is enough?"
The vice president of the council clicked her heel on the ground, strictly pledging. "Even though he started the mess, I guarantee you he won't dare bother you two again." With total coldness, he concealed his lightning blade in response to this swift intervention, seemingly complying with the order. The hero wondered to himself about the council's defense of the scum. Why are they trying so hard to defend him? I didn't actually intend to kill him. Realizing that instilling terror is the only deterrent, he thought. But if I don't show killing intent, these parasites will keep bothering us in the future. Meanwhile, the crowds whispered in terror. His looks are truly terrifying. Aren't they the weakest losers? He smiled sarcastically, whispering, "We'll see." Later that night, the scene shifted to the student dorms, specifically inside the crowded dormitory rooms. There, his friend desperately shouted and reacted, trying to convince his roommates. "Why won't you believe me? Chen really awakened. He is actually a mighty lightning assassin." Continuing his emotional description of humiliating the tyrant. "He pinned Guangcheng to the ground and wiped the floor with his dignity. Now no one will even dare to look us in the eyes." However, his roommate interrupted him with sarcastic mockery, doubting the story. All right, and where is our valiant hero now?" He replied simply as he stood confused. I think he said he was going out for a run." The flame mage burst into mocking laughter. "If he has such mythical strength, why the hell does he need to run? Since when do awakened train like ordinary humans?" Here, their other roommate intervened with feigned pity, claiming that his friend's brain had been severely damaged from the beating, delivering a bitter, indisputable reminder. "Listen, Long, the reason the four of us are gathered here is that we have the worst grades in the entire batch. It's an undeniable, irrefutable fact." He started to brag with arrogant pride, affirming the rule. "And everyone awakens only one class in their lifetime." He began boasting about his monopoly on the offensive class. "You two are just support mages, while I possess the only offensive class here." Rejecting that fairy tale with an aspiration for the top and confidently affirming, "I am getting stronger, and tomorrow in the final assessment, everything will be revealed." In another dark spot, specifically in the 5th rank training arena around the experimental rift, the scene was different, where the absolute leader appeared, having just finished his training, leaving behind a terrifying aura reflecting his dominance. Monster blood stained his heavy coat following a harsh training massacre he fought mercilessly, announcing the end of training amidst his followers' absolute silence and their total reverence for his breathtaking prestige. There, the leader found his younger brother standing in anxious anticipation at the exit. The defeated brother appeared covered in medical bandages, filled with a blind malice boiling in his veins. He screamed with intense emotion. "Brother, if you don't do something about this, I won't be able to sleep. He insulted me in front of everyone. He doesn't have an ounce of respect for you or the council." The leader shot him a cold look devoid of sympathy, answering, "I know, you were simply defeated, that's all there is to it," making a decisive promise to settle the score personally in a deadly tone. "I will handle it." The scene shifts, gathering the student council elites in a luxurious lounge around a fine dinner banquet. There, she sat, sipping her drink with biting sarcasm, asking, "But is this boy really as strong as your brother claims?" Showing extreme surprise at how this nobody possesses an alleged mythical power that defies expectations, reminding him of a strict statistic. "There are fewer than 10 students in the 4th rank, and you've recruited them all into your club," confirming the reality of the impenetrable evolution barrier. Aside from that, ordinary students don't have opportunities to enter monster rifts to develop their energies like we do. Based on this absolute monopoly, she downplayed his threat with blind confidence, saying, "No one can match you." Far from that arrogance and under the whips of heavy rain, he was exhausting his body by carrying 100 kilograms running for 20 kilometers, certain, as he panted, that basic training is the key. Basic training is the key to building a solid physical foundation. Only a strong body can unleash the true limits of class energy. Despite this massive effort, he still felt a thirst for evolution and that his body needed more, sorrowfully recalling scenes of destruction. Remembering, in the year 2160, the Hell Emperor Wrath appeared, where he caused the annihilation of millions with a dominant power. In a single moment, he annihilated millions, marking the beginning of the end of the world, and remembering with deadly bitterness who he lost. "And my only family, my little sister, died at his hands." Realizing he was the reason for opening the gates to the sweeping invasion. He is the one who opened the gates of hell for the invasion, so he made a bloody oath in his granted new life. His eyes ignited with invincible resolve amidst the rain, certain of the inevitability of the difficult race against time. He's definitely getting stronger now, so I must evolve much faster than him. Suddenly, a continuous buzzing from his phone interrupted his train of thought and grueling training, as the screen lit up with a name that caused a violent tremor in his heart. Sion, his sister, who died in the past. He caught his breath with difficulty, trying to maintain his psychological composure to answer. "Hello?" Her voice came to him with warm, childish enthusiasm. "Hello, brother. Why did you call me so much today? I was in a competition and my phone ran out of charge." She continued recounting her simple ambition with hope. "Listen, if I win, we'll finally be able to pay off all the accumulated rent." But he drifted off into the cruelty of the past, making her wonder about his suspicious silence amidst the sounds of rain, whispering with anxious surprise. "Brother, is it raining there? Why aren't you talking?" Hiding the truth and remembering his desperate prayers in the destroyed future. Can everything really start over, even if I had to descend into an eternal hell? Then he replied with a shaky voice hidden by a sad smile. "It's nothing, just, it's been a very long time since I heard your voice." She laughed with absolute innocence, saying, "What are you saying? We talked just 2 days ago. We'll meet right after my competition ends. Bye." Then he looked up at the sky, possessed by a definitive certainty. Now, everything has truly started anew. Deciding to double his effort with strength and determination. 3 more laps. I must get stronger as fast as possible to protect everything I have. After 8 continuous hours of hellish training, he returned to his dark room to find his roommates asleep, where he stood under the warm water drops, immersed in deep analysis. I'm beginning to adapt to this body. But the obsession with upgrading dominated his mind. To raise my level, I must enter a demon rift. Here he faced the major obstacle standing in his way. And the guilds monopolize them completely. How will I track monsters then? Realizing with bitterness that depriving the weak of those rifts leaves them as easy prey for the awaited invasion hordes, a flash of thought led him to ask himself with doubt, and what exactly is this gluttony or absolute devour system? Suddenly, the sharp system beep resonated within his mind, initiating an automatic and mysterious boot-up process. As the blue screen announced the completion of loading, "System online, loading," indicating the system's readiness to load complex codes. A system message echoed in his head, "Initiating gluttony system, opening a passage to an unknown dimension." After a blinding white flash, he suddenly plunged into an unknown, completely dark dimension. Crashing violently onto soil dyed the color of blood, he coughed up red dust, groaning with sharp pain. Ugh, what is this crushing landing? As he stood up in the middle of a closed arena, he contemplated his surroundings with awe and apprehension. This is a battleground shaded by an anomalous sky, as red as hell. Then he looked up with utter bewilderment toward the horizon. And a giant tower with savage Gothic architecture piercing the dead clouds stood before me. He was bewildered, feeling his damp clothes and whispering in surprise. How did I teleport from my bed and bathroom instantly to this mysterious landmark in a fraction of a second? But he caught a glimpse of scattered skeletons and narrowed his eyes with extreme caution. These are the remains of massive canine monsters. They must be waiting for something. Soon, the dark soul was breathed into the scattered bones, forming death hounds belonging to the Cloud Warrior class around him. At that moment, he realized his inevitable confrontation, drawing his fists with solidity. Facing monsters means one thing: I likely teleported to a demonic lair or a forgotten rift. He immediately activated the transformation skill to deter the imminent threat that was surrounding him from all sides to devour him. He shouted with focus, and his card materialized with a strong flash. Lightning Assassin. The Lightning Assassin class granted him a 10-fold kinetic multiplier all at once. The Deathhounds attacked him with sudden ferocity and bared fangs seeking to tear his flesh, but he moved like the blue flash, whispering in cold blood. Too slow. Reaping the monster's souls one after another in cold blood with a cutting blade faster than sound. He claimed the easy spoils of battle, collecting the death fang 3 consecutive times in moments, shaking the blood off his blade with arrogant confidence. Annihilating these rank E creatures seems like a stroll for my current restored power. Breathing the smell of blood and rust with complete certainty. This pain and this blood, I am certain of the reality of the battle. This is absolutely not an illusion. He gained 52 experience points following every successful execution of a monster he took down. He smiled with satisfaction as he read his interface. Level 2, I finally discovered this place's ability to hone my level away from the eyes of the guilds. As the system window recorded a 5-fold surge in his stats, he flexed his energy-engorged muscles. My speed and strength have multiplied noticeably in a few minutes. He rejoiced at his secret discovery inwardly with hidden enthusiasm. I found an exclusive demonic lair capable of solo raiding without any competition bothering me, defining his goal with an irrevocable, decisive look. I have resolved to drain all the resources of this dimension and cleanse it completely. He tightened his grip on his sword with strength and determination. And I will test my maximum combat energies here and push them to their absolute limits.
Suddenly, the earth split open forcibly, and he evaded a deadly attack with extreme difficulty. "So you are the boss of the monsters here." Clashing with the boss, who initiated a brute attack on him, he settled the grinding battle in his favor with a decisive lightning strike, panting with relief. Ascending to the 3rd level, I jumped to the 3rd level all at once.
He looted 18 Deathhound fangs and a glowing orphan crystal as a precious yield of victory, observing his points with intense admiration. The massive experience surge gained from the boss is amazing. It raised me 2 levels in the blink of an eye. An anomalous phrase glowing in crimson protruded above the boss's corpse. Devourable. He knit his brows in confusion and surprise. What is the significance of this unknown option? Denouncing the strange word he was seeing for the first time, his eyes gleaming with a fleeting flash of understanding. Should I connect this to the true essence of the gluttony power I possess? Extending his hand with a curiosity tinged with caution toward the lifeless corpse. Let's try. A terrifying, sudden crimson energy wrapped around his arm like hungry snakes and growled, swallowing the monster's entity to dust in a bloody, swift, and disgusting scene that chills the spine. He stepped back, stunned. I'm shocked! The monster was completely absorbed following the Devour process, until no trace of it remained. The essence crystallized as a holographic card, and he read the card in a low voice. It displays its properties as Frost Constitution, an anti-ice skill. He was stunned by his discovery, staring at his hand in disbelief at what was happening. The feature of looting enemies' classes and skills after annihilating them? This is sheer madness! Terrified inwardly the moment he grasped the nature and danger of this forbidden skill in his world, remembering the nightmares of the past, he whispered with a terror squeezing his heart. This skill is completely identical to the weapon of the Demon King Lan in my destroyed past life, and I miraculously succeeded in acquiring it for myself in this life to be my secret weapon. Realizing the magnitude of the anomaly and the defiance of the universe's laws. This feature violated the absolute cosmic law of an awakened possessing exclusively one class throughout his life, looking at his 2 shadows reflected on the stained ground. To become now the possessor of 2 simultaneous classes in one body, switching between them whenever I wish. Terrifying horizons opened before him, and he smiled with hidden ferocity, vowing, by devouring more monsters here, completing his ambitious plan inwardly, I will accumulate an infinite arsenal of combat classes to become the strongest and greatest of all time, while he looked at the dimension's strange sky in confusion. However, the mystery of granting me this forbidden gift still troubles me and seeks a satisfying answer, staring at the towering structure with cautious anticipation. And what is the truth of this dark tower standing before me that gifted it to me without an obvious return? Suddenly, a crushing pressure descended from the top of the tower, instilling terror in his limbs and forcing him to his knees against his will. The entity resonated with an ambiguous, welcoming voice from the top of the tower. You have finally arrived. I have been waiting for you for an epoch. Emanated majestically clad in black, brandishing 2 purple swords and calling out confidently. Si Shen. Inwardly, with sweat covering his panicked face, I recalled the government classification of powers from E to the legendary S sitting at the peak, continuing to remember with hurtful bitterness, and my bloody suffering trying to reach the peak S in my previous doom and my death just to touch it. Analyzing his bitter reality before this opponent, while my current power sits at rank D as a maximum and does not exceed it. Realizing the magnitude of the catastrophe surrounding him. The stats of this S-ranked entity standing before me crushed all my weak scales the moment he stood, denouncing inwardly with utter bewilderment. What is the nature of this crazy liar that houses a rank S monster on its very first floors? His confusion growing into terror of the unknown. What's worse, what is the mystery of the entity knowing my personal name with such precision? The entity lunged toward him, and the clash began, engaging in a bloody collision in which he quickly realized his opponent's deliberate leniency in every move. Evading the entity's blade, he thought with suspicion. He is completely avoiding hitting the vital points in my body, as if he is toying with me. But the entity threw him to the ground with effortless touches, like one playing with a small, weak child, glaring at him with a mocking glow, inquiring with total coldness. Still resisting? What's the point of resisting me, you weak human? He grasped the entity's malicious purpose of bringing him to his knees, humiliating him and subjecting him psychologically before eliminating him, offering him with suspicious malice. Join me in guarding this tower. It is a legendary opportunity I will grant you. But he stood on his feet, refusing. Impossible. Decisively concluding his absolute refusal to stay in this eternal hell as a blind guard. The entity was annoyed by the decisive refusal and suddenly slashed his body with his blade to punish him for his insolence, asking with indignation and a blatant threat, "Did you think yourself immune to death because I went easy on you?" Justifying his initial forbearance and leniency. "You are the only visitor capable of reaching the top of this tower. That's why I gave you the chance." Despite his pain, he observed with his eye a purple energy from the entity.
He is resuscitating the corpses of the dead monsters to restore the arena anew. The entity's suffocating energy enveloped the arena, granting him a final choice. Choose now. With an absolute and decisive tone of execution. Absolute submission to my rule, or total annihilation, to the point of fading and nothingness. But he, with unyielding solidity, summoned his blade again, resisting the physical pain squeezing his being, replying with a decisive voice tearing the heavy silence. My decision is to eliminate you. The entity erupted in a resounding mockery, his ridicule filling the dark dimension. Ha 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 ha! Truly pathetic and funny. The entity lunged toward his opponent like a rushing arrow that knows no retreat toward its target, and while preparing to engage in close combat with the tyrant in a certain life-or-death battle, his analytical mind caught his opponent's vital flaw, following the exchanged blows throughout the bloody ongoing confrontation, observing his movement with algorithmic precision inwardly. There is an attack delay of fractions of a second before every lunge of his blade. Continuing his tight plan, I will employ this flaw to track the angle of the opponent's wrist and evade the blade one step in advance, glimpsing the boss's fatal weakness, and I discovered a recovery paralysis of fractions of a second following every attack he executes, planning to strike that exposed gap in the absolute boss's defense with all the power he possessed, directing the lightning blade attack at his opponent's heart with all his energy and reserves, shouting, "Take this!" defining his goal inwardly. The goal is to paralyze the boss for precious seconds, bypassing the shortcomings of my rank D in its capacity for direct and instant killing. But the boss's superiority in speed broke the plan, stripping him of the chance for a safe retreat after the attack, activating the Flashmaster skill in panic. I must escape! Multiplying his speed to flee the deadly counterattack, stealing a glance at the sole source of light in the dimension as a final escape route and desperation to save his life. Dashing with maximum acceleration toward the light, wishing to save his life from this predicament that boded no good, only for the exit to suddenly evaporate from existence before him, like a devastating and cruel mirage, evaporating all hope with it. The entity surprised him from behind with terrifying calmness, revealing the illusion of the exit. An illusion. This place has nothing to do with demonic lairs for you to find an exit in it. Praising his quick-wittedness and spotting flaws. Despite that, your analysis and spotting of flaws was impressively perfect and earned my admiration, considering the matter extremely enjoyable and satisfying with a confident tone. You are truly interesting and worth the attempt to be the best. Dropping his mask to appear as a Raksha Star Warrior S, declaring with a resounding voice, "You are the awaited bringer of hope for this world." He was shocked by the identical appearance and features, whispering with terror paralyzing his limbs. It completely matches the face of the Demon King Lan, who destroyed the world in my past life. Inwardly, sweat profusely pouring from his forehead as he drew inspiration from the details of his final battle from his past lives. In my past life, my last fight was against Lan Yu before the destruction of the world. His breathing accelerated, recalling with dread those details. I remember well Lan's seamless switching between his multiple combat classes to raise his overwhelming level during the battle, continuing to remember the nightmarish images etched in his memory. He fought me then in the form of an invincible giant icy bird. Then he clenched his fist with strength and sorrow, only to embody later a flaming warrior, burning the earth and everyone on it, knitting his brows with suppressed anger. Then turning into a massive plant monster, swallowing life from its roots. Amidst those multiple transformations in his memories, he realized an extremely terrifying and shocking matter, looking up with total bewilderment to discover the shocking truth. There was a specific form that was the strongest among them all, staring the entity standing before him in absolute shock. It literally matches the appearance standing before me now, the Raksha. He was struck by lightning as he finally deduced the terrifying truth. This means that Lan Yu devoured the Raksha through the power of gluttony and acquired it in the past. His eyes widened in indescribable terror to grasp the shocking truth. And now, after this gluttony power has merged within my own being, touching his chest in complete bewilderment, to be certain that this entire dimension, including the monsters in it, resides inside my own body. Looking at him with obvious admiration and praise, he interrupted his thoughts. Not only are you amazing under crushing pressure, but you possess sharp intelligence as well. You have proven your solidity, boy, and your complete right to the gains of this secret place. Raising his head in bewilderment and questioning. My right to all the gains of this place? What do you mean? From the void emerged a dazzling golden energy taking the shape of a legendary key, which he pointed to. This is the Void Key of rank SSS, the sole key to breach the closed gates of the demonic tower, with a voice echoing like destiny to clarify the truth of the confinement. Lan Yu devoured the fiercest and most brutal demons in bygone eras, and all of them are now confined inside this tower, behind those gates, inciting him with a bloody, vengeful tone. Breach the doors and devour them all. Turn them into fuel that multiplies your energy and power limitlessly. Gripping the key with a trembling hand, inquiring with doubt and confusion. And why do you do all this? Why do you support me and grant me this power when you are ultimately one of them? His eyes blazing with deep-seated malice, justifying his position. Even among demons there are moral and bloody differences. The massacre of the Demon Kings annihilated my entire clan to satisfy their endless greed. Looking at him with hope, I have waited an epoch for my awaited chance for revenge, and the prophecy of that unknown man was true. You are the only hope. Interrogating with confusion and anxiety about the identity of this prophet. That man? Who exactly are you talking about? Pointing toward the giant tower, confirming the hiding of answers. All the certain answers hide behind its walls. Go and look for them yourself, when you are ready. His body began to glow and blur, granting his energy to exact retribution from the enemies. Now, take all my energy and exact retribution for us from all of them. Denouncing with bewilderment and terror the inevitability of acquiring this massive energy. Take your full energy as a rank S demon? Giving him orders with enthusiasm and anger before he vanished. From this moment on, you must be an unstoppable, compelling force. Breach the tower and devour its contents, so the world becomes under your feet. Warning of the cunning and ferocity of the demons lurking inside. The demons inside will not show you mercy as I did. They are the most cunning and fierce, emphasizing the necessity of conquering them all to sit on the throne of the world. You must conquer them all to sit on the throne of the real and parallel worlds. Adding strictly, and to continue marching to devour all the remaining demon kings successively, one after another. His entity began its inevitable fading into the void as purple light particles, his voice trembling with enthusiasm, declaring, "Only a resolve like this is the sole qualification to contain my absolute energy." A mighty and violent energy torrent flowed through his arm, illuminating the entire dark dimension with a bright purple glow. The system interface announced his leap to the 10th level following the Absolute Devour, reading the glowing notification. Ascending to the 10th level. The system confirmed its precious spoil of his abyssal bone. Obtained demonic abyssal bone ×2. He stared into the void where he had been, pledging to carry the will of revenge, swearing with a low and firm voice. I will carry the will of revenge with me to the afterlife. The Star Warrior card crystallized, showcasing the acquired destructive skills as he contemplated it in bewilderment. The Skeleton Hollow skill and the Triple Gravity Disaster, these skills are terrifying. He clenched his fist and swore to make the perpetrators pay double the blood tax. And I will make them all pay double the blood tax, inevitably. A night from hell ended as he jolted from his sleep suddenly to the noise of his roommates in the crowded university dorm. Getting out of bed, surprised by his return to reality amidst the colleagues' rush. I'm in my room again? Feeling his intact body free of wounds and scars, doubting the reality of what he lived with confusion. My wounds are completely healed? Was that whole terrifying nightmare just a dream? The system screen settled his doubts, confirming he retained the 10th level and the spoils, reading with deep relief. The system confirms everything is real. The spoils are there. Wondering inwardly about his new classification after this supernatural nocturnal surge. I wonder, what is my current classification compared to the Academy's standards after reaching the 10th level? His thoughts were interrupted by his roommate's call with a provocative voice, looking at him with a mocking and sarcastic tone, folding his shirt slowly. Yeah, Si-chan, you finally woke up, you valiant hero. Citing their friend's exaggerated bragging last night. Last night, Ma Long was bragging about your supernatural strength as if you were a god of war, mockingly challenging him about his alleged intention to monopolize the dorm leadership. Do you intend to monopolize the dorm leadership from me, or what with these fairy tales? Laughing mockingly, urging him to test his classification to reveal the truth of his abilities. Come on, let's let the official assessment today reveal the truth of your alleged abilities before everyone. Boasting and gesturing with his hand, noting the class disparity within the single low rank range. It's true we're all in rank E, but don't forget the class disparity between us, boasting of his medium classification compared to his lower classification. You are just scum in the lower rank while I am in the medium rank. That's a reality, confirming the widening combat gap that allows him to crush 10 of his likes. The combat gap between us allows me to crush 10 of you at once. Do you understand that? Stepping ahead of them arrogantly, anticipating a potential promotion in his upcoming test. And maybe today I'll get an official promotion to the higher rank and leave you here. He approached and whispered enthusiastically to him to motivate him to snatch a higher rank to deter the colleague's mockery. Chen, do your absolute best today. Get rank D to terrify him, silence his mockery, and shut his mouth forever. He simply received the support with internal sarcasm and total calmness, without any reply. The students from the dorm reached the assessment courtyard crowded with students and examiners from everywhere, amid an atmosphere charged with anticipation of the test and the tension of knowing the upcoming destinies. Spotting the rudeness of the bullying followers blatantly pushing the crowds out of their way and whispering with fear, "Damn, it's Guangjin's gang," initiating a tactical retreat to avoid friction. "Let's get out of their way to avoid trouble. Step back." The two friends froze in terror the moment the bullying gang's glares collided with them directly. We're done for. However, the gang suddenly froze in their tracks like motionless statues. Absolute terror swallowed them the moment they caught a glimpse of him walking calmly behind his friend, bowing to him with public submissiveness and a trembling voice before everyone, welcoming his majestic presence. "Mr. Si Chen, welcome to your honorable presence." Shocked, his eyes widening, showing his doubt in the truth of the victorious friend's claims. What? Why are they bowing respectfully to Si Chen? Were Ma Long's claims last night actually true? He bypassed them with complete disregard and calm steps that paid them no attention or glance. But the calm did not last, as a member of the student council abruptly intercepted them, mockingly hinting at yesterday's incident. "I heard someone here started a fight with Guang King yesterday," mocking him, boasting of the kinship. "Do you know, you fool, that he's President Guang Ting's younger brother? You've gotten yourself into trouble." The attending students whispered with disdain, dubbing the interceptor the president's pampered dog. "Oh my god, it's Zhang Zhen, the president's pampered dog from the student council." A student whispered in surprise at his targeting of an outcast student. He's classified in rank D. Why is he targeting a weak outcast student like Si Chen? Bragging about possessing a sense that distinguishes the strong from a distance, approaching him. "You know what? I possess a very strong sense of smell that distinguishes the strong and their classifications from long distances," rudely insulting him, describing his aura as pathetic weakness lingering at the bottom. "But all I smell from you now is the pathetic stench of weakness of an outcast student lingering at the bottom who will never amount to anything in his life." But the sarcastic response came like a slap. Chen answered him with icy coldness, mockingly asking if this opponent was crossbred from a bloodhound lineage. A blind anger ignited in the opponent's eyes, the leader's face flushed with blood, ready to pounce and crush this rebel after his public insult. But the leader's intervention stopped everything, as Longshang's calm and cold voice suddenly cut through the arena to stop his raging dog before he could strike. He issued a sudden, fair decision. The leader announced his personal responsibility for his brother's reckless behavior, clearing the hero of any consequences for the time being. Zhang executed blind obedience. He retreated submissively, bowing with absolute respect in compliance with his master's direct orders without any discussion. A silent confrontation began, as the leader cast searching, cold, and piercing looks towards the hero, attempting to probe his depths and discover his secret. Zhang responded with a visual challenge. He exchanged looks with the leader with total steadfastness and a cold fighting spirit, without blinking or taking a step back. They were interrupted by the assessment call. The professor's voice boomed through the loudspeakers, announcing the start of the official assessment and ordering students to step forward according to the established numerical sequence.
The leader showed ultimate disdain. He withdrew quietly from the arena, believing in his heart that the hero was just a nobody who posed no real threat to his ambitions. Meanwhile, there was a high-level observation. The official Ling Yu was watching the tense scene with great interest from a high window overlooking the arena. Her companion raised a question, expressing his surprise at why a high-level official would be interested in watching a trivial dispute between mere ordinary students at the bottom. She replied with an amusing prediction and a mysterious smile, expressing her expectation that today's assessment would carry shocking surprises and an unprecedentedly entertaining show. As time passed, the calling of the roommate came. Shang Zhu's name was announced over the loudspeakers after a long and tense hour since the start of the tests. He stepped forward with blind confidence. The conceited roommate walked with excessive confidence towards the platform, determined to explode his alleged energy and dazzle the gathered crowds. He entered the testing booth. Shang stepped into the isolated testing chamber, which was equipped with the latest magical measurement devices. It was a sophisticated, simulated environment. The assessment rituals were conducted in a virtual environment that accurately simulated a low-level demonic rift to ensure measurement precision. In the center sat the measurement heart, Heart, a massive crystal device dedicated to absorbing and precisely measuring the maximum magical energy secreted by the student. The task was to discharge energy. The harsh test required the awakened to discharge their entire essence of power all at once into this device. He began the attack. Xiang struck the device with his magical mace's aura with all his might, standing waiting for his result with pride. The measurement process began. The crystal heart absorbed the explosive energy, immediately passed it to complex assessment devices for analysis.
The decoding process launched. Advanced processors analyzed the essence of the pure energy released by the roommate to calculate its actual power. The disappointing result arrived. The screen lit up coldly, announcing his classification in the middle tier of rank E only, shattering all his ego. But there was a missing indicator. The observer certified the preliminary result, waiting for a crucial and additional indicator determined by the system to be uploaded. It is the future potential indicator. The device anticipates the student's maximum future evolution ceiling, which is considered the true gold standard for talent. He possessed a limited ceiling. The roommate's result determined that the maximum future evolution he could reach in his life was rank C. He felt bitter disappointment. The roommate's dreams of reaching rank D today evaporated, realizing his stagnation and that he would remain at the bottom for the next 2 years. He received consolation from his companions. The rest tried to comfort him in silence, while the calling of names continued to echo in the arena without stopping. The confirmation of failure came. The results of the 2 companions, Shang Yu and Ma Long, matched expectations, rightfully falling to the bottom of the low rank E. Suddenly, an exceptional result appeared. A violent shock froze the trio and all those present before a staggering and unexpected number that suddenly appeared on the giant screen. The first D illuminated. The first rank D result of the year illuminated, sparking a mad cheer and cries of admiration among thousands of students. It served as a barrier breaker. Another student reaped rank D as well, with terrifying future potential that touched the threshold of rank A. This caused collective frustration for the companions. The trio sank into total despair, as this student was the 8th to reach rank D, while they remained in the depths of oblivion.
Staff bewilderment pervaded the place, as the Academy administration was surprised by the unprecedented number of elite students this year, which exceeded all possible expectations. Amid suffocating anticipation, the observer stood ready to announce the single name that the entire arena was waiting for with bated breath. The feared name echoed through the loudspeakers, the call for Guang Cheng, the absolute and strongest leader of the student council. A mad cheer erupted. The arena roared with thunderous applause and a warm welcome for the young lord of the great Empire Guild. In contrast, with total coldness, Chen stood watching the blind celebration of the crowds from his dark corner with icy looks devoid of any emotion. A terrifying question floated in everyone's minds as the crowds anticipated the new horizons and numbers the leader would break today, especially after 2 years since he reached rank D. Isolation imposed itself as the scene shifted to the heart of the glass testing booth, completely isolated from this external noise. The machine's readiness was announced. The demonic heart device began to prepare and flash to measure the dominant aura possessed by the student council leader. With silent pride, the leader stood tall before the assessment device, ready to display his power and prove his absolute dominance over everyone. With a cunning tactical trick, Guang decided to suppress a large portion of his actual energy, preferring to hide his true trump cards for future battles. Driven by blind confidence and the absolute certainty that even his restricted and suppressed energy was entirely sufficient to immortalize his name as the first in the Academy's history, the data analysis process began as the device's complex algorithms processed the leader's formidable energy with extreme precision to display the final result. The observer's bewilderment occurred as he was shocked by the reading of the unique and anomalous color spectrum of Guang's energy, which had never been seen before. The screen flashed with a legendary result, announcing his reaching the upper tier of rank D, with terrifying future potential touching the ceiling of rank S. An explosion of the field occurred. A mass hysteria swept the arena, celebrating the leader combining present strength with a future of rank S, which is considered a form of the impossible. The entourage's celebration began, as Zhang and the rest of his followers cheered with euphoria and pride for their master, who had just shattered all the Academy's records. While a comrade's paralysis struck everyone, Ma Long and his colleagues froze in their place from shock, completely unable to comprehend this overwhelming historical achievement. An academic alert was announced. Senior staff hurried to submit urgent reports to the High Command, considering the young leader a rare national treasure that must be protected by all means, granting him doubled influence, especially with the constant reminder of him being the legitimate and sole heir to the dominant Empire Guild.
This served as a media earthquake. It was certain that the result of this assessment would headline every national news agency before tomorrow's dawn. From a high observation point, the duo watched with admiration mixed with suspicion the unprecedented emergence of multiple extraordinary talents in a single batch. The dean's question was raised, as Yuan Long asked the official Ling Yu if her personal presence today was due to her prior knowledge of Guang's true power. She replied with a flat denial, as the official coldly confirmed that she did not carve out her time and attend merely to applaud the achievements of this young leader. She showed a hidden intention. A mysterious smile appeared on her lips, revealing another secret purpose she considered far more important than the leader himself. The true goal was, the official's curiosity was entirely and passionately focused on seeing the performance of this forgotten student, Chen. Finally, the awaited call came, as the loudspeaker boomed with the name of Si Chen, the student residing in the shadows whom no one had paid any attention to. Yang greeted him with preemptive contempt, attacking the hero with biting words, warning him against causing a new and humiliating scandal for their room. He issued an insulting warning, considering that Chen's inevitable failure would serve as the final crowning of their room as the biggest pathetic joke in the Academy's history. With ugly arrogance, the leader continued his boasting that this pack of outcasts and weaklings bring nothing but shame to the prestigious academy. Here, the comrade's defense emerged, as Ma Long roared angrily in the face of the conceited one, demanding he swallow his words and wait for the silencing result. He had a blind certainty, absolute and total confidence that his friend's energy, which he saw with his own eyes, would inevitably blow the minds of these doubters. Meanwhile, tension and doubt prevailed, clear anxiety among the rest of the comrades, and their silent skepticism regarding the actual result expected from this mad challenge. With confident steps, he moved with icy steps. Chen stepped into the closed booth and advanced with complete coldness towards the assessment device. The machine's terror occurred in an impossible phenomenon. The demonic heart device seemed to actually tremble and shrink in fear as soon as it sensed the hero's destructive aura. He began gathering energy as Chen took a strict attack stance, ready to discharge all his restored demonic power into this device. Accompanied by a logical analysis, for the hero realized perfectly that proving his power to join the great guilds is the only survival gate for any awakened. This arena was the theater of merit, and the definitive certainty that this final assessment is the golden and only opportunity to seize recognition and prove absolute power before the entire world. A grand prize awaited the victors. The members of the first-place team would be recruited immediately and directly into the ranks of the great Empire Guild. Here, a hidden purpose was revealed. This power test was not just a hollow display of ranks, but a crucial preliminary step to sort alliances and form the strongest combat teams. Polarization began. The leader Zhang hurried to include the new awakened Lin, who had just obtained rank D, into the ranks of his powerful Masters Alliance. They were overcome by premature ego, boasting about securing the crown of victory in advance after their amazing success in gathering 3 rank D awakened into one conquering team. Talent hunting was the true and greatest goal of this assessment, merging the elite and strongest elements in preparation for the final and deadly epic. Meanwhile, the weak were clearly rejected. Those with low classifications were isolated into fragile teams, becoming mere bloody offerings ready for the coming slaughter. In the meantime, increasing anxiety prevailed. Mao Long and his comrades' doubts escalated due to their friend's suspicious and worrying delay inside the testing booth. A silent black screen remained. There was no data or response from the giant scoreboard until this moment. Biting sarcasm arose. The crowds began to mock and laugh, believing the hero's energy was far too weak for the sensitive device to pick up. The leader directed a final contempt. He decided to leave with his complete team, looking down with disdain at all the outcasts remaining in the arena. He gave a signal to depart. The leader Guang motioned for his team to leave after this boring show for him had ended. Suddenly, a resounding surprise struck the arena. The screen glowed with a bright light, revealing the hero's numbers exactly as the gang turned to leave. It was a staggering digital shock. Chen's classification was clearly announced in the upper tier of rank D. Mass bewilderment occurred. The crowds and comrades refused to believe this impossible result glittering before their wide-open eyes. The victory cheer rose when Ma Long broke the silence with a mad shout of celebration, proud of his friend's hidden power that silenced everyone. The arrogance of the conceited was paralyzed. The shock froze the blood of the leader and their follower in their veins, completely silencing their arrogance before these numbers. But an emergency warning flashed. A red light filled the booth, announcing a malfunction in data stability and requesting the system to re-evaluate immediately. The hero realized it was mere raw power. His basic human body, devoid of activating any class energy, alone equaled the peak of rank D. Here, he decided to raise the challenge. Chen calmly proceeded to activate one of his many combat classes to escalate the result and test the machine. He began with a simple initial activation, summoning the aura of the Hell Cloud King, which was merely the weakest class in his dark arsenal. A mad leap occurred. The screen jumped frantically to adjust the assessment suddenly, leaping from D to the middle tier of C. Double confusion prevailed. The crowds were shocked by this mad and sudden change in the automated assessment readings, which are never wrong. In a state of opponent's denial, Zhang screamed in panic at the top of his voice, justifying this result by the existence of a catastrophic failure in the Academy system. Academy terror spread. Senior staff froze in their places, certain of the collapse of the system's algorithms before this terrifying and unprecedented fluctuation. The machine began to suffocate. With repeated sirens, the demonic heart suffered and groaned under the weight of this formidable pressure. The hero made the decision to reveal. He decided to show his true, terrifying face to find his actual power ceiling and destroy any remaining doubts. He released the Absolute Curse. Chen unleashed the mighty Rakshas Star Purgatory class, letting his energy explode without restriction. The device began to crack. The solid demonic heart split forcefully, unable to absorb the massive flood of energy sweeping through it. A nightmarish aura emanated. The arena ceiling split under a dominant and dark purple energy, suffocating the breath of all present without exception. Fear gripped the enemies. Guang and his gang stared at the dark sky in absolute panic from this sudden hell that swallowed them. Everyone realized it was a new history. The comrades were witnessing today the birth of a true legendary entity emerging from the womb of their miserable and despised room. The probability screen drew a golden future. It struggled violently under the weight of the energy to display the amazing rank S. A second shock hit them. The observers' screams rose in terror at the appearance of another rank S legend on the same day and in the same place. Pride was crushed. The arrogance of leader Guang evaporated entirely, leaving him paralyzed and helpless before this terrifying display of absolute power. A red alert was launched. All screens turned the color of blood, releasing consecutive warning flashes of an imminent catastrophe that would sweep the place. A total collapse began, with the official announcement of the entire system falling and the giant machine beginning to shake violently, signaling an explosion. At the last moment, the screen uttered the impossible rank. The legendary SSS assessment appeared clearly before the system completely collapsed for exceeding its maximum capacity. The arena witnessed the collapse of officials. One of the senior academy staff fell to his knees in weakness, screaming from the horror of what he saw with his own eyes. Suddenly, a resounding explosion occurred. The glass assessment booth shattered and its shards scattered, turning in a single second into a flaming pile of ruin. Staff panic prevailed. There was a mad rush by the professors to retrieve Chen's body, amidst hysterical screams warning of the melting of the machine's magical core. Smoke intrusion began, in a panicked and desperate search through the flaming rubble, hoping to find any pulse proving the hero remained alive. With the clearing of the thick dust, the catastrophic scene began to clarify very slowly before the chief observer's terrified eyes. The observer's finishing shock hit him when he saw the legendary demonic heart turned into a mere fragile gray shell, completely drained of any energy. One of the observers hurried to provide a flimsy justification, explaining the sudden burning of the device by its wear and age due to continuous and intensive use by thousands of students. But there was a silent realization. Chen was fully aware that he was the true cause of devouring the machine's heart following the momentary release of his terrifying energy. Reaching a terrifying certainty by discovering that his forbidden ability, Absolute Devour, is capable of devouring and absorbing the energy of machines and inanimate objects as well. In a scene resembling an angelic exit, Chen left the flaming wreckage with calm steps, completely safe and without a single scratch touching him. He decided on a test of insight. The hero quietly activated a new visual ability to test the limits of his piercing vision amidst this stunned field. Superhuman vision was granted to him as the Star Purgatory Eye enabled him to penetrate auras and read the hidden ranks and actual levels of everyone present with precision. He realized it would serve as a secret weapon, that this piercing insight would penetrate the darkest plots of tyrants, guiding him like a compass in this false world. Here, the leader's secret was exposed. The insight showed Chen that Guangsheng was suppressing within him a massive energy far exceeding what he had displayed moments ago. A suspension of assessment was announced. The Academy administration was forced to stop the rest of the tests immediately, raising the white flag before this sudden ruin.
Official censorship was practiced, as it was announced over the speakers that the hero's mythical result was merely a technical glitch in the device, and the assessment was postponed until the following day. But this did not prevent the comrades' celebration, as Ma Long and his bang ignored these flimsy justifications and began celebrating madly the brilliance and hidden power of their friend. A rude accusation interrupted them as the follower Zhang Jian stepped forward, shouting angrily, accusing the hero of intentionally sabotaging the measurement device to hide his true weakness. The follower's anger exploded, expressing extreme resentment at wasting his master's precious time in the student council because of this trivial incident. Chen reached the end of his patience. Blue lightning sparks began to dance hiddenly between his fingers, preparing to strike and silence this annoying leader.
The intent to crush manifested in him. The hero thought with cold seriousness of annihilating this bully right here and now to relieve the entire world of his hollowed shatter. Suddenly, the leader's intervention occurred. Guang Shen stepped forward to stop his follower with a gesture of his hand, describing the hero as the mysterious new colleague in their team. This was the follower's jolt. Zhang froze in his place in a state of total bewilderment and disbelief at his master's unexpected declaration. It was a booby-trapped invitation, in which the leader presented a diplomatic and cunning offer to officially join Chen to his elite team in the final assessment test. And he tempted him with promises of the summit, confirming that they would be able together to sweep all records and top the Academy's hierarchy undisputed if they united their forces. The comrade's surprise prevailed. The eyes of the hero's friends widened in amazement at his receipt of a personal and direct invitation from the strongest and most influential leader. A burning malice ignited in Zhang's chest, for his anger stemmed from his realization that including this hero would inevitably cost the expulsion of another member from their complete team. He was driven by blind jealousy. The follower deeply resented that the free and precious elite seat was granted to an outcast student residing at the bottom of the academy. But he showed total submission, surrendering completely to his master's absolute will and realizing with bitterness his true position as a mere pawn being moved on a chessboard. With a fake smile, the follower swallowed his wounded pride, forcing himself to welcome the hero with a slight bow and a manufactured smile that almost tore. But a flat refusal came, as Chen shocked the entire arena by kicking the leader's golden invitation away with extreme coldness and without a single shred of hesitation. Mental paralysis struck everyone. The follower Zhang was completely unable to speak or move before the horror of this insulting slap delivered to his master publicly. They witnessed the cracking of ego. The leader's fake calmness collapsed to be replaced with a dark and gloomy look as he struggled to comprehend this insolent rebellion. He delivered another icy slap as Chen silenced the followers' anger with total coldness and a provocative disregard for all their influence and status they bragged about. He issued a final warning, alerting them in a tone that made the skin crawl not to cross his path again before turning his back coldly in preparation to leave. The withdrawal began. Chen left the arena with confident steps accompanied by his stunned friend Ma Long, leaving the follower behind him burning with the fire of his helpless malice. Terrified whispers arose. The crowds were left in a state of shock, whispering in fear about the madness of this mysterious boy who dared to insult the most powerful council leader. And after his refusal to join the leader's team, the arena turned into a theater of speculations. A student whispered to his colleague, his eyes shining with enthusiasm. "Did you see that icy refusal? Si Chen must be targeting the first place for himself. Everyone was expecting exciting drama, and here it begins." While a female student laughed gloatingly from afar, whispering to her friend, "Did you see the faces of Guang's gang and the bullies? Oh, the embarrassment. They thought they were the masters of the hall." Her friend nodded in admiration. "Our hero was really very brave to stand up to them like that." Following that, a follower shouted with intense anger and emotion beside his leader, "Damn him! How dare this scum insult you in front of everyone?" The leader replied, calming his follower with total coldness, "It's fine. It seems the boy has his own plans. Let him be for now." Based on this frightening calmness from the leader, the gathered students began to slowly disperse from the university courtyard as each team withdrew to discuss their plans. On the administration balcony overlooking the courtyard, the director struck the balcony's edge with deep sorrow. "What a loss. The opportunity for a historical alliance is gone. I was hoping they would form a team to set a new, unbeatable record for the school." The vice president stood beside him, smiling with coldness and cunning as she watched the hero from afar. "Do not grieve, Director. With this sudden turn of events and his refusal to join, things have become much more interesting than we expected," explaining to the director in a malicious, analytical tone. For someone with the ego and influence of Wang Ting, that public refusal wasn't merely a tactical choice, it was a blatant declaration of war on his pride, concluding her words with a warning and confident look. "And we all know that the council president is not someone to be played with or insulted without consequences." In a far corner of the courtyard, the follower slammed his fist into his palm with continuous rage. "He's only arrogant because of a passing error in the power test, and he really believes he's rank C?" In a far corner of the courtyard, the leader stared into the horizon with a cold, deadly look. And what if the test wasn't wrong? I swear, even if it's true and he really possesses that power, I won't let anyone take the first place from me. His follower smiled maliciously, flattering him. Boss, he's just an inexperienced novice while we train in secret. Why don't I teach him a harsh lesson on your behalf so he knows his true place? But the leader turned to shoot him a deadly look that pierced his soul and froze him in place. Do I look like someone so base and petty that I'd send someone to beat up an outcast student? The follower trembled and stepped back in panic. No, I didn't mean that. Slip of the tongue, boss. Then the leader turned and left with coldness and boredom. My mood is ruined by this nonsense. I'll leave alone. Pausing for a moment, he glared at his follower over his shoulder with a sharp, underlying look. And whatever stupidity you commit after I leave, I have absolutely nothing to do with it. At this point, the follower noticed that strange tone a bit, and his thoughts paused for a moment, processing the words in his mind. His eyes widened in understanding, and he smiled a demonic smile after catching the underlying green light, bowing with fake respect. Heh, I fully understand your message, boss. You have nothing to do with it at all.
Just 10 minutes after plotting the scheme, one of the followers ran, panting toward his senior follower. Boss Shan, I just watched him. Si Chan has already left the school. Catching his breath and eagerly explaining. I heard him say he's going home, and he left the campus quickly without even eating in the dorm cafeteria. The senior follower crushed an empty soda can under his foot, smiling with malice and euphoria. Even luck and heavens are on my side to present him as easy prey. Adding with an evil smile and eyes gleaming with revenge. Outside the school walls, everything is permitted, and I can deal with this boy and crush him without any consequences from the administration.
Meanwhile, our hero was walking in complete calmness, unaware of the cheap bully's plot to trap him in the dark alleys, as he walked in a nearby street, completely lost in his thoughts. These bullies are nothing but insects compared to what's coming. His heart squeezing in secret as he remembered the destruction of the future. In the past I lived, an elite guild of the strongest found a powerful, nightmarish demon while on a routine raid mission in the Holy Lands. Continuing to remember the terrifying details with a shudder. He was called the Emperor Wrath, and before they realized the magnitude of the disaster, the monster annihilated the elite team and the entire guild in the blink of an eye, clenching his fist with strength and sorrow. And since that ominous day, the monster emerged from its rift and began destroying and burning the human world, his eyes igniting with invincible resolve. And to find the lair of this creature before its emergence, I finally devised an infallible, tight plan. But to execute my plan and abort his appearance, I first need a massive amount of money to start. Based on this plan, he headed directly and with confident steps to the Grand Methyl Monster Exchange, looking closely at the luxurious building before him. Here is the largest center and auction for selling materials and equipment in the future. Realizing in secret the importance of his step, I know very well that weapons and equipment are extremely important and make the difference between life and death for the awakened, and this place is my best bet for gathering wealth. Inside the exchange, he stood before the appraisal counter, emptying a pile of ivory fangs. With a sharp voice, I want this batch appraised and sold. The expert appraiser stared at the pile with bulging eyes, then looked at him with disdain. You're just a university student. Where did you get an item like this? He replied with total coldness and indifference, pointing to the pile. A monster dropped them after I killed it. While the appraiser remained confused, having never seen the likes of it, the young female employee approached and recognized them immediately with professional enthusiasm. These fangs aren't ordinary, they're the fangs of the sanguine monster. Completing her explanation with obvious eagerness. It's the rank A cloud monster. They can be melted to craft rare weapons, or ground to... But the arrogant appraiser interrupted her with disgust and rudeness. All right, I get it. Rank A items are useless to me. I'm only dealing with rank D items and above, and I'm not obligated to know this junk. Bitterly complaining to himself about his luck. Damn this day, the good and wealthy customers have completely disappeared. Continuing his internal grumbling with sorrow. At this rate, the promotion I'm waiting for is still very far out of reach. Turning to the young employee, deciding to leave it to her. Take this transaction, rookie. You handle everything concerning this student. And turned his back to leave arrogantly. Moments after completing the transaction, the employee handed him a heavy bag of money with a polite smile. Here you go, sir. Do you need anything else? He checked the bag to see he had received $18,000, thinking with relief. This amount is barely enough to cover the overdue rent for now and get by. Then he looked at the employee with confidence. Yes, I have something else I want appraised. Suddenly, his right hand began to glow with a mysterious gleam. From the midst of the glowing void, he summoned a giant demonic sword, pulsing with an extremely powerful and evil purple aura that suffocated the breath. The employee's jaw dropped and her eyes widened in total bewilderment before the stunning weapon. "Oh my God! What an amazing sword!" Thinking with absolute fascination as she contemplated it. Even without having seen a weapon like this before, its suffocating aura confirms it must be at least rank B, or perhaps A. The appraiser suddenly returned after feeling the energy, laughing with biting sarcasm. Rank A. Rank A weapons cost millions. I've worked here for years and haven't seen one in my life, and this weapon is definitely not one of them. Suddenly, a man with blue hair and a piercing look appeared, interrupting with a calm and measured voice. "You are right. This weapon is not rank B or A." The appraiser jumped, cheaply flattering his boss. "My boss truly has a piercing eye. I just told her, what valuable things could a poor student like this bring, other than junk?" But the boss revealed the surprise, ignoring the appraiser, looking at the sword in absolute bewilderment and a voice trembling with awe. This weapon was forged in the deep lands of Purgatory. It's an artifact from the legendary Rank S equipment. The declaration shocked everyone, and the duo froze from the sheer shock while the appraiser screamed. "Impossible! Rank S?" The boss stepped forward, ignoring their bewilderment, shaking his hand with exaggerated warmth and enthusiasm. "We are very honored to have you in our exchange, sir. I welcome you as our very special guest." Gesturing with extreme respect, inviting him inside. "Please, come with me to the VIP room. Any request of yours will be fulfilled immediately." He walked behind him, smiling a faint and confident smile inwardly. He swallowed the bait completely. The man has finally appeared, exactly as I planned, his eyes shining with malicious triumph to assure himself. It turns out that man's name is Chen, the leader of the Methyl Guild, and he is the first essential piece in my grand plans. Chen and the Methyl Guild president, Chen Jai, stepped away from prying eyes into the luxurious and quiet VIP room, where the president sat, his eyes fixed on the legendary sword resting on the table. "Sir, this weapon defies description. May I ask what amount you are requesting in exchange for relinquishing this unique piece and your equipment?" Answering with complete confidence and coldness. 1 million. The president's eyes widened in obvious bewilderment, his composure completely shattering before this figure that underestimated the value. Leaning forward enthusiastically, he spoke. "Do you realize that rank A weapons sell for millions, while this rank S piece will ignite madness and a war in the market? Its value could easily exceed 10 million and will cause utter chaos." Sipping his coffee with absolute steadiness, he replied, "I never intend to sell it. I want to use this rank S weapon as collateral for a $1 million loan. I will repay the full amount after exactly 1 month. The president found the idea strange in secret, beginning to analyze the situation. Pawning a legendary weapon for a paltry sum? This complex planning is far from the mind of a simple university student. Continuing to think with hidden admiration, this young man realizes his foresight and plans to retrieve his sword shrewdly. He truly possesses wisdom far beyond his years, as his eyes shined with wild curiosity about the origin of this client. Is he the scion of a rebellious wealthy family, or a genius hiding his true power from the world? Whatever the case, this young man is not ordinary at all.
Certain that he was facing an exceptional person, with calculated steps, while his guest continued to sip his coffee calmly and confidently. Setting his cup down, he pledged firmly, "I will repay the original loan amount in full after exactly 1 month, with 10% interest the following month. What do you say?" Turning to the female employee, he dismissed her to ensure the complete secrecy of the negotiation. "Xiao Li, could you leave us alone for a minute?" After her departure, the president decided to reveal his cards and conclusions, smiling smartly and cunningly while staring at his guest. "Sir, let me analyze your exact situation." Leaning back in his chair, he continued, "If I'm not mistaken, you study at the National Awakened University and are in your final year, graduating soon." Narrowing his eyes with a sly smile. "To my knowledge, the annual graduation exam will be held exactly 1 month, and the first place prize is 1 million, which entirely matches the loan amount and repayment date you suggested." Nodding his head, hinting at a deep understanding. "It seems you have absolute confidence that you will snatch first place in this difficult exam." Concluding his analysis with a piercing look. Resorting to pawning such a valuable item as collateral means conclusive proof of one thing: you are going through a stifling and sudden financial crisis. Confirming confidently, and you found no solution but this bold step as a last resort to provide immediate liquidity to deal with this emergent circumstance. After brief thought and facing his guest's total silence, he decided to take an unexpected step that turned the tables in his favor. Leaning forward, he offered confidently,
If that's the case, I will lend you and give you $1.5 million in cash immediately with total exemption from interest for the entire month. Justifying his generous offer seriously. Consider this a token of friendship. I wish to build solid bridges of trust and a friendship with you, not just a passing deal that ends today. Raising an eyebrow in hidden surprise inwardly. This sudden generosity is unexpected. While the president confirmed his commitment to the absolute secrecy of the meeting, tactfully stating his only condition. I will only ask that you give our exchange priority and make it your first choice in your future dealings, and I will guarantee you major discounts. Exchanging looks with him in silent admiration inwardly. He deduced my identity and goals from simple information, and instead of exploiting my crisis, he offered a deal that intelligently and foresightedly builds a long-term strategic partnership. Continuing his thoughts and future expectations. No wonder, this man will make the methyl market the largest globally in the future thanks to his ambition. Then he extended his hand and accepted the offer, shaking his hand, realizing inwardly. To defeat the tyrant Wrath, I will definitely need powerful and smart allies like him.
To add definitive formality, the guild president hastened to document what is known as the binding rock contract for both parties. The bank transfer notification arrived on his device. 1,500,000. The agreed-upon funds were immediately transferred to his account. Expressing his professional concern, the president spoke. "But sir, if you pawn this legendary weapon here, what will you fight with in the graduation exam?" Offering help. "I can lend you alternative rank A or B gear and equipment if you wish to facilitate your task." Turning calmly, thanking him, and smiling confidently. "Thank you, but there's no need for that." Suddenly, his hand glowed again. Internally, speaking with supreme, terrifying, and unshakable arrogance. "I have another weapon, no less powerful or rare than the one I just left." Surprising them by summoning the second legendary Raksha-class sword. The president and the employees froze from profound shock that this mysterious young man possessed 2 pieces of this terrifying legendary level. Meanwhile, he headed to leave with steady steps, leaving behind a silent bewilderment enveloping the place. Whispering in bewilderment, the president turned to the employee. "Xiao Li, for your excellent handling and service to this exceptional client, you are promoted to the position of supervisor immediately." While his arrogant appraiser colleague lamented the loss of this golden opportunity, he suddenly stopped before exiting the gate and turned gently. "By the way, I would like to purchase an additional item before leaving the exchange." After completing the purchase, he took a taxi heading to his next destination, towards the unknown. Upon his arrival at the Longchang long-distance bus station, and while he was waiting, harsh memories of his past suffering with extreme poverty swept over him like merciless, violent waves, his heart squeezing inwardly as the memories gnawed at his mind. I remembered my graduation days before I awakened, and how I worked arduous jobs after the guild's continuous rejection of me. Drowning in his sorrow, remembering the hardship, we struggled to provide the minimum for living and to pay the rent. Sighing bitterly, my sister Sion and I lived an austere and miserable life. And he remembered that painful moment when his sister was accepted into the prestigious International Fine Arts Academy, and how her dream dissipated. With a sorrow squeezing his soul, he recalled her scene, saying, "I remember how she tore up the acceptance letter under the pretext of not wanting to move away from me," continuing his hidden pain inwardly. But I later learned that her true motive was to avoid burdening me with additional financial loads and abandoning the dream of her life. Until he snapped out of his reverie belatedly and looked at his watch in panic. "Damn it, I'm late for my sister's probable arrival time." Suddenly, a familiar call interrupted him, piercing his ears and transporting him through time. Shouting sharply from behind him, she scolded him.
"Big brother, how many times have I told you that waiting is at the exit, not the entrance? Why are you standing like an idiot?"
Complaining while dragging her heavy suitcase.
"You never focus."
He stared at her slowly in total bewilderment, his eyes widening as he felt the weight of 7 years of long separation in her face brimming with life.
"Come and help me carry the luggage, instead of standing frozen like that."
Instead of replying, he rushed to hug him with massive force and extreme emotion that almost broke her ribs from the intensity of his longing. She froze, surprised and shocked by his exaggerated and unusual reaction, unaware of the magnitude of the tragedy, and thinking to herself. She didn't realize that this hug compensated for the separation of 7 harsh years in past lives and certain death. The emotional moment ended very quickly, and she pushed her brother, annoyed and joking.
"Hey, are you trying to choke me to death at the station?"
Throwing her bag at him with an inquiring smile.
"Why are you acting weird lately? Did you get a romantic rejection or what?"
He denied with confusion and a tearful smile.
No, nothing like that.
Urging him to return and enthusiastically recounting.
Let's go home. The exam was crazy, and I faced some funny situations. Let me tell you everything.
He watched her as she spoke with deep happiness and gratitude, filling his thirsty heart, and secretly promised himself with an irrevocable bloody oath. In this life, I will not allow any force or entity on earth to strip you of your happiness or make you suffer again.
In a dark corner of a gloomy alley, Zhang Jin and his gang hid with their weapons, lurking like shadows of death. Pointing towards the path, he coldly ordered his men. This is the path he usually takes. Hide, and as soon as he appears, we will pounce on him. Pressing on his blade, glares of evil flying from his eyes, he vowed with deadly malice. I will make him taste the bitterness of revenge and make him pay a very high price for provoking me. Meanwhile, a follower whispered with anxiety, trying to dissuade his leader from recklessness. Boss Zhang Jin, isn't it dangerous for us student council members to be involved in this assault? What if we get exposed? He silenced him with a fiery glare, declaring his intent for total destruction. Damn that. I only intended to discipline him, but for an F-rank scum student to overstep and act like he belongs to the S-rank, it disgusts me. Recalling his previous words with bitterness and insult, and mocking his voice with biting sarcasm. You're annoying. Shut up and don't speak to me again. How dare he? His anger finally exploded as he ordered his men strictly. Step aside. I will crush him personally and break his bones until I deny him the chance to attend the graduation ceremony. He then drew his dagger with absolute coldness and showcased his aura boastfully. I am the best assassin of the Cloud class in the Institute. Just wait, you trash.
The scene returned to the siblings, immersed in a relatively calm atmosphere. She looked at him with spontaneous apprehension, asking with playful malice.
Big brother, you've been acting strangely for 2 days. Are you nervous about the graduation exams? A simple person like you doesn't usually get carried away by emotions like this.
Reminding him of his words with a bright smile.
Didn't you used to say, believe in yourself, for opportunities will come sooner or later? Where did those tips go?
Her gentle words formed a lifeline for his troubled soul. As soon as they entered a narrow alley, she began humming her favorite song freely, ignoring the world.
A wonderful star launches across the galaxy.
While he listened to her silently and warmly, he drifted into his thoughts, admiring her innate intelligence. Scion is very smart. She noticed my change immediately, but she still ignores the truth of my awakening and thinks we are still struggling with poverty. He patted her head to reassure her with warm calmness. I promise, I'm fine, Scion. But she considered it a masculine denial born of pride, concluding with hidden irony in her heart based on her readings. He's still denying it. As I read, men build emotional walls as they mature. Looks like my brother has finally grown up.
The siblings delved into the alley, seemingly oblivious to the hidden surveillance following their steps with extreme caution. A masked follower whispered from the dense shadows. Boss, the target is accompanied by a girl. He smiled with deadly malice, expressing his joy at this luck. This is perfect. The alley is completely free of cameras. It is our perfect stage today. Despite his apparent calm next to his sister, he sensed the incoming danger and the hostile glares with clarity that tore through the silence, whispering to himself, without changing his cold features, creeping killing intent and hostile energy approaching. A cold anger ignited in his chest upon realizing their identity. Student council members, what audacity to follow me to my safe haven. He pulled his earbuds from his pocket with deadly calmness, without slowing his steady pace. He placed the earbuds very gently on her ears to isolate her from the impending massacre, saying, Here, listen to this, justifying his action with a calm, reassuring smile. I've been addicted to this song lately. She blinked in surprise at his newfound interest. Since when do you care about music? But she gave in to her curiosity and adjusted the earbuds innocently. All right, maybe music will help me understand your strange psychological state.
At that moment, he committed to deliberate silence and stopped walking like a statue of ice. He turned slowly backward with a cold, non-human gaze scanning the dark alley. It's time for cleaning. Activating his investigative ability in secret at lightning speed. Instant level analysis, rank E and rank D. Meanwhile, she was completely isolated in the pure world of music, drowning in unprecedented musical tranquility that separated her from her surroundings. Then the team began their hostile and coordinated movement within the dark alley, advancing one after another and drawing their weapons, in blind response to their lurking leader's orders. He recalled his tragedy in secret with calmness and resolve. In the year 2060, I lost my family, and I wasn't granted the chance to return until 2067 to meet my sister. This reunion after 7 years of hell. Thunder energy gathered around him, and violent lightning bolts exploded, announcing his raging anger. How dare you come and pollute this holy moment? The team lunged all at once, screaming bloodthirstily, but he vanished in a lightning flash to appear among them with supernatural speed before they touched the ground, delivering a resounding and lightning-fast kick that could not be blocked in any way.
The kick sent one attacker flying high into the air and shattered his ribs with a clearly audible sound, which froze the rest of the opponents in their places, completely unable to comprehend the horror of the scene, while she continued humming behind him in deep peace, ignoring the battle taking place. A star launches in the night sky. He clenched his hand wrapped in dancing lightning without any pause or hesitation for a moment and swept like a destructive storm toward the closest man to him, screaming coldly, "I will crush you all." Opponents fell one after another like weak autumn leaves under the barrage of his crushing blows, precise as a machine, as the first fell, followed by the second, then the third in the blink of an eye, and blood splattered everywhere, painting a portrait of death. The attackers were completely unable to resist or show any ability to respond. A desperate attacker attempted to throw a stray punch from behind, shouting in collapse, "Take this!" He caught his hand with an iron grip, solid as a shackle, without even turning to see him, pressing with crushing force to shatter his bones with a lightning strike, emitting a horrifying cracking sound. "Ah, my arm!" He followed it with a violent and terrifying punch that landed directly and harshly on the shattered face. The punch sent the attacker flying away like a rag doll, and he slammed with extreme cruelty against the stone wall of the alley, prompting his leader to retreat in terror, reeling from the bloody scene that unfolded before him like a curse. He broke out in cold sweat, wondering in bewilderment, with a trembling voice. What the hell is this? Where did this horror come from? Staring with wide eyes, unable to grasp the reality of the superpower before him. How can trash be this strong? His confidence and arrogance evaporated completely into thin air, and a paralyzing fear took hold, shackling his trembling limbs. He screamed with a voice trembling in terror, trying to gather his broken and scattered courage. "Don't come closer!" Summoning his meager energy and claiming power in desperation. "I am the best assassin of the Cloud class. I will not be defeated." Launching a final attack with desperation and recklessness, pushing all his remaining energy toward him. But he didn't blink, and with a single brutal strike, he crushed him, completely smashing his face and blocking his attack. The knockout blow sent him high into the air, losing his balance and all his senses. And before his defeated body, heavy with wounds, hit the harsh ground, he followed him like a ghost and delivered another, more brutal and fierce aerial strike. The strike shattered what remained of his teeth, and blood sprayed from his mouth like scattered rain in the alley, finally falling to the ground like a lifeless corpse, unable to move or utter a single letter. While he stood over him like a ruthless tyrant, with eyes glowing with terrifying demonic redness and silent contemplation, reminding him with cold, icy breath of his previous warning.
"I warned you earlier about bothering me."
Asking him with a sharp gaze, declaring his anger had reached its unbearable limit.
"Which part of that simple warning was too difficult for your stupid mind to understand?"
In the dark alley, nothing remained of the bully gang leader's arrogance but debris. He sat weakly leaning against the stone wall, weeping bitterly and coughing up copious amounts of blood, his bones completely shattered.
"My ribs, all of them are shattered. My legs, they're paralyzed. His rank assessment, it was real. He is absolutely not rank D. Ugh, I'm so sorry."
Engaging in a humiliating crying and apologizing, begging for survival after his courage vanished, while he advanced with steady steps, grabbing him violently by his collar to raise his blood-stained face.
"Shut up completely. If you make a single sound from now on, I will kill you here and bury you in this place."
Threatening him with death with a coldness that made breaths freeze. Then he drew his electrified blade, pressing his sharp knife against his opponent's face with terrifying gentleness.
"I want you to look closely into my eyes."
Instilling indescribable terror in the tyrant's soul, making his body tremble. He contemplated the blue light reflected in his icy pupils, trembling in absolute terror inwardly.
His eyes do not lie. He will truly kill me without blinking an eye. How can a miserable university student possess such a terrifying, nightmarish killing intent? What the hell has this monster faced in his life to be this cold?
He pulled the blade away slightly, looking at his collapsed opponent with a gaze completely devoid of humanity. "Listen to me well, and engrave every letter my tongue will say now into your miserable, weak memory." Continuing in a tone dripping with threat and death. "Scum like you and your followers are worthless to me, and I can dispose of you and erase you from existence easily, as if you never were." Pressing his other hand on the wound with extreme cruelty. "Cut off any thought or dream of bothering him again, and I warn you against the consequences of approaching my younger sister or following her steps." Whispering with a voice like death touching his opponent's vein.
Any appearance of your men or you before her again means liquidating you finally and with no return. I will make you disappear one by one forever. Do you understand? He nodded his head in mad hysteria, shedding tears and saliva. Yes, I understand. I swear I understand. Drowning in his final humiliating tears, he left his opponent to fall to the ground, drowning in the blood of his collapse and loss of consciousness, and turned, walking away with a coldness that pierced the silence of the alley toward the unknown.
Far from the smell of blood and iron, she was waiting, wiping a warm tear that suddenly fell while she was listening to the song. Why does this song make me feel a mysterious loneliness and intense isolation? Looking toward the horizon with deep emotion, thinking to herself. Only a few days have passed since our reunion after my absence, but the sudden change in my brother's behavior makes me feel as if he has lived an eternity of suffering and pain away from me. Sighing with deep sorrow, saying, I am overcome with sadness, feeling his deep, mysterious loneliness, despite my constant closeness to him, and my attempt to stay by his side to protect him. As soon as he saw him approaching, she initiated with gentleness and tearful joking, putting her hands on her hips. Brother, are you trying to use this gloomy song as a way to elicit sympathy like this? But he interrupted her by presenting an elegant small box bearing a luxurious logo, which struck her with complete bewilderment, tying her tongue and freezing her words. He smiled with brotherly warmth, extending his hand with the box. I got this for you, Scion. This gift was picked especially for you. The moment she opened the box, her eyes widened in absolute shock. Oh my God, is this the Dragon Model 3D Magic Pen? But it costs more than $10,000. Where did you get its expensive price? Did you rob a bank? Happiness flooded his heart seeing her bright features, whispering inwardly, his eyes gleaming with an old sorrow. In my destroyed past life of the year 2060, I stood helplessly and miserably unable to protect you, or achieve your simple dreams, before I lost you. She tried to return the box with hesitation and fear. It's very expensive, brother, and I don't like it that much. Maybe we should return it and save the money. While he secretly pledged to himself to provide all means of happiness for her, putting his hand, stained with the gang's blood, behind him so as not to ruin her innocent moment, speaking in a reassuring tone. As long as you like it, that is completely enough. Don't think about the money. Meanwhile, the gang in the back alley were groaning weakly in a pitiful state, paying the price for their recklessness and empty arrogance.
Then they returned to their modest little home, and she began trying her new magic pen with overwhelming childish enthusiasm filling the place. She skillfully drew an illuminated holographic fish swimming in the air, laughing and jumping with joy.
Wow! I can't believe the precision of this pen, and its actual work is this amazing! It's exactly like magic!
While he sat at the wooden table eating egg noodles with gratitude. As long as I see this smile on your face, this is my sole purpose in the world, and the egg noodles you make with your hand are undisputedly the best.
But she stopped playing and looked at him with financial concern.
But brother, we still have to pay the accumulated rent expenses, and you are squandering money like this, with unbelievable generosity suddenly.
He smiled with complete confidence appearing on his features. Don't worry about that at all. I paid the rent for the whole year. At dawn today, she was stunned by the shock of the massive amount transferred to the landlord. He continued eating his food with feigned coldness to hide the truth. I made the money from a small project and a private investment I started with an old friend of ours, and we made some quick profits. She stared directly into his eyes, realizing the truth inwardly.
My brother is very bad at lying. His features expose him clearly, and I am absolutely certain he is hiding many big secrets, but I won't care.
Contemplating his comfortably relaxed features, sensing happiness.
I sensed a true and deep happiness pulsing on his face now, which I haven't seen on his face for many long years.
She noticed a warmth and sincerity in his current smile that was completely different from all the gloomy sadness and fears that preceded this day. Deciding to stop questioning him, she approached him affectionately and simply placed her warm hand on his shoulder.
All right, I'll believe you this time.
Advising him with extreme gentleness and compassion.
Whatever the size of this project, just don't exhaust yourself too much. I don't want to see you in pain.
He exchanged the smile with gratitude and warmth that washed away all the blood accumulations that ran in the alley hours ago, to begin a new phase of confrontations.
In the Great Student Council Hall, urgent official news arrived as a member stood holding the medical report with fear. The report has arrived. Zhang Jin suffered severe fractures involving 60% of the bones in his body. In continuing with wonder and astonishment, the doctors completely ruled out his recovery or ability to move before a full month passes. Who would have thought a rank E student possessed this audacity to challenge and crush our men? The president of the student council and the one with the greatest power and the final say was the next speaker in this emergency session, while the vice president of the council sat on the luxurious sofa sipping her drink with indifference and disregard. His absence from the upcoming graduation exam doesn't matter. Zhang Jin was just a boastful insect. He put down his coffee cup with dismissive coldness, his eyes radiating an icy light. My team has become stronger and faster without these weaklings and deadweights hindering our ascent to the top. At that moment, the massive wooden door opened, and the recruitment services director at the National University and the council president's uncle joined the place. He advanced with serious features and a tone full of malice. You are mistaken if you underestimate the matter, Guangting. I will seriously warn you of the threat of this boy, Si Qin. Opening a secret electronic file and explaining. I personally examined the results of the hidden rank assessment, and the records confirmed that Si Qin is the only student in this entire batch who actually outranks you. His pupils widened slightly with a shock that caught his pride off guard. What? He outranks me? Shocked by discovering that his opponent's rank officially proven in the Magic Corps is C. His internal tension increased, knitting his brows with sharpness and anger at this information that shook his academic throne and his image. His uncle warned with extreme strictness. You cannot allow any nobody to steal the spotlight from you. Narrowing his eyes, thinking of precautionary solutions to prevent surprises. We must secure our position in any possible way and under any circumstance. Proposing his cunning backup plan. If things go wrong, I will intervene to include my niece Ling Yu in your team to ensure total crushing and close all loopholes. He interrupted him with an arrogant and terrifying smile, restoring confidence to his features. Uncle, you exaggerate your worry and fear of a nobody. Leaning back and asking disapprovingly. Do you really think I revealed my full true power or my cards in that superficial automated rank assessment? His eyes ignited with an oppressive light like an invincible tyrant. I swear before you, on the day of the practical combat exam in front of the Union officials, I will show everyone, and Si Qin, who is truly the strongest in this world. Displaying a terrifying, mad confidence in possessing skills and trump cards he hadn't revealed to any measurement system yet, to end the discussion in the room and pave the way for a bloody clash.
In the evening, he showered in his university dorm under the flowing warm water drops, recalling the achievements of his intense long day. He closed his eyes, analyzing his body comfortably. The strenuous physical training of carrying 100 kilograms was successful, and most importantly, my pressing financial crisis has been completely resolved. Drafting his post-graduation plan inwardly. I drew up my post-graduation plan and securing the million prize designated for first place, and I will use it to pay off the loan mortgage debts. Thinking about his future and strategic alliances. Adhering to the contract with Chen Jai and the Methyl Exchange is essential to serve my future interests and build major alliances. Then he clenched his fist with hellish resolve, vowing, less than a month remains, so I decided to raise my level additional times and develop my abilities before the exam date to be ready to annihilate Wrath. Closing his eyes completely, ready and prepared to connect and bracing to enter his holographic system in his isolation, the system announced its activation in his mind with a familiar mechanical voice. System initialization, starting Gluttony system. He returned to the same digital space with a much deeper and more precise awareness and understanding than the previous time he entered it. Walking toward the virtual throne confidently, reviewing his overall assessment and his glowing updated statistics in the blue space before him, contemplating the data with total coldness and evaluating his reality. My weakest available class currently is Cloud King, and it is classified as rank C. His pupils widened slightly, seeing the second option. But the Raksha class surpassed the system's standard limits and sits at the legendary rank S, and I am still ignorant of the limits of its true power and how to fully assimilate it. Looking down with slight disappointment at the mystery of the rest. As for the remaining two classes in the Forbidden Archive, I acknowledge my total ignorance of their capabilities and features so far. Then he took a glowing item from his digital inventory and decided. The rank SSS Time Rift key. I will resolve to test the power of this mysterious key today. As soon as the tool was activated, a massive door similar to the nightmarish giant gate tearing the fabric of space with its darkness opened before him. Violent, black, and unstable energy waves flowed from it, making the gravity and air around him extremely heavy and suffocating. He advanced with a bold and steady step toward the heart of the dark gate without any retreat or an ounce of fear in his heart. Disappearing inside the dark flash, his eyes blazing with mad enthusiasm. The Tower of Darkness. I wonder what horrors and nightmarish scenes this place hides. I will devour them all.
As soon as Chen crossed the tower's threshold into the wastelands of the falling stars, he entered a world where the familiar laws of physics completely vanished, where his body was subjected to a massive and crushing pressure immediately upon his arrival, as if the air itself had suddenly turned into heavy lead.
Falling to his knees, he panted heavily with blood pouring from his nose. The gravity here is insane. My body is heavy, as if a mountain is pressing on my chest. Breathing with difficulty, he analyzed his environment with forced rationality. I can estimate this. The surface gravity in this place is equivalent to 10 times the normal gravity. Turning around in shock, he stared into the void. The door I entered through has disappeared. This means that opening the portal requires defeating the floor boss. But under these conditions, my power has dropped to only 30%. Gritting his teeth, he tried to stand up. I must quickly adapt to the new environment of this place before I am completely crushed under this weight. Here, a terrifying roar pierced the silence as shadows gathered to form a terrifying entity. The rank B phantom lion monster had appeared, spreading a suffocating, oppressive aura. Summoning his interface with coldness and combat readiness. So you are my opponent here, a rank B monster. Let's begin. He immediately switched his class to the 10th level of the Lightning Assassin, causing lightning to emit from his body, marking the monster as his main target. He began his attack with chi, trying to launch himself like an electrified arrow, but his movement was unusually slow due to the crushing pressure. Biting his lips, he evaded the monster's counterattack with extreme difficulty. Damn, because I am not used to the hypergravity, I barely dodged that strike. So he charged his weapon with lightning to launch a swift attack to end the battle, hoping to relieve the burden on his body before a total collapse. Although he struck the monster's body, the system interface notified him of failing to achieve a vital hit or cause any significant paralysis. Analyzing the situation with disappointment and indignation. I missed? The high gravity weakened my speed and made me lose my attack accuracy completely. Receiving a strong counterstrike, he was thrown backwards in pain. It knocked me to the ground. The assassin class has become useless in these harsh conditions. Watching the monster's comfortable movement, he wondered to himself, while this monster moves with complete ease, does this silent power reflect the true level of the creatures of the Abyss Tower?
Facing a monster completely adapted to its environment, our hero realized that speed was no longer the solution. He unleashed a dense purple energy wave during the monster's attack. Here, the system announced the completion of his class transformation into Raksha, the Abyss Demon. Emitting a terrifying purple aura, he stood as firm as a mountain. If speed doesn't work, then I will face you with the strength of warriors. Clenching his fists, he sensed the flowing power. I will rely on the warrior class in close combat to take advantage of the massive strength and endurance bonuses it grants. Indeed, the effectiveness of the monster's attacks and powerful strikes vanished before the solidity of his new and devastating class. Smiling fiercely, he grabbed the monster to slam it to the ground with crushing force. If you like this high gravity, let me double it for you by exploiting the downward impact. Taking advantage of the harsh environment to make the crushing force reach its absolute peak in his decisive attack, delivering a devastating punch surrounded by the purple aura. On this floor, and with this weight, the power of my punch is multiplied 60 times due to the effect of gravity. A violent shock seized the monster, and the scene filled the battlefield with absolute awe and terror at the magnitude of the power. With eyes blazing with anger, he delivered his finishing blow. Die! A massive explosion destroyed the surrounding area following the activation of the 3-phase gravity disaster. Immediately after, he fell to the ground, afflicted with total exhaustion and unable to move due to the draining pressure. The monster was finally killed, and the system granted him 12,000 experience points as a reward for his arduous victory, which led to his direct promotion to the 11th level due to the massive gained experience points. Then he lay on his back and began evaluating his new abilities while struggling to catch his breath. Panting, his eyes focused on the system interface. I understand it now. Every star on my card acts as a multiplier for the base stats. Analyzing his data with inner satisfaction, I deduced that increasing the number of stars means gaining much greater power after a direct class transformation, confirming his new certainty to himself. This proves and confirms that the Raksha rank overwhelmingly outperforms the Lightning Assassin thanks to the number of stars. Marveling while looking at his exhausted body. But it's astonishing to completely drain my energy facing just one rank B monster. Getting confused and looking around searchingly. Wait, where is the Devour option? The monster disappeared without the Devour ability mark showing up after I eliminated it. Trying to stand up slowly, he searched the horizon. And why hasn't the portal leading to the next floor appeared? His confusion was cut short by the detection of a sudden movement that sparked his bewilderment and turned the atmosphere of the place upside down, as a new, giant gate opened unexpectedly and abruptly right behind his back, revealing countless hellish eyes that began watching him in an eerie, absolute silence from within. His eyes widening in absolute terror, his body stiffened. Don't tell me that the previous monster was just the beginning and that the floor boss hasn't appeared yet?
whispering in despair as he saw the shadows creeping. The monster I almost died to kill was just an ordinary monster. Suddenly, the monsters launched a violent collective attack, mercilessly gnawing at his body, leaving him in a miserable physical state in a matter of seconds. And only at that moment did he realize the true meaning of the Raksha class, closely tied to the unending pain he was promised as soon as the door opened. As the continuous attacks of the Phantom Lion's followers completely tore his body apart in moments of pure agony and unbearable pain, he became covered in blood, all simultaneously hearing a mysterious inner voice urging him to seize everything and endure this absolute pain to the very end. Only to wake up abruptly in his dorm room, discovering that what happened in the tower was just a vivid and horrifying nightmare. His body was trembling violently, covered in cold sweat, with heavy panting, as if he had been running for centuries to escape death. Panting and clutching his chest in pain, his eyes bulged. The pain of my muscles tearing and my flesh separating from my bone, it felt unbearably real. Regaining his composure, with eyes filled with resolve and determination. There are no shortcuts. The path of the Abyss Tower is arduous, and I have only just begun my journey. And so the scene shifted swiftly to the Great Hall of the National Awakened University on Friday the 20th of May in the year 2057, where teachers and students crowded into the hall amidst an atmosphere charged with intense anticipation and tension in preparation for the awaited graduation assessment. A student whispered to his peers with enthusiasm and excitement. "Did you hear? News has been circulating about the attendance of top guild union officials for this graduation combat assessment." Another student replied with understanding and deduction. "Ah, that explains the strong turnout and the change in the annual assessment rules, which previously did not require a specific team size or rank. The new rules imposed a minimum team size of 5 members on the condition of having at least one member with a high rank A or above, while he calmly observed the situation." Supervisor Schwan, the recruitment director, announced strictly over the loudspeaker. "Students, attention! Your final rank data has been sent to your wristbands. I demand you form your teams quickly." Immediately, classification windows and holographic screens appeared with glowing clarity before the eyes of all the students in the packed hall, which spread murmurs and a state of chaos throughout the hall, as everyone began checking their ranks and statuses with scrutinizing and anxious looks. And there, his friends were completely shocked the moment they saw his specific and surprising classification on the displayed list, where the screen clearly revealed that he had only obtained a low rank A, sparking extreme objection and shock among his friends. Ma Long screamed in shock while looking at his wristband in astonishment. "Chen, what does this mean? I'm surprised by the decline in the result. How did your classification drop to just a low rank A?" A female student whispered to her friend in surprise. "Look at Chen. His classification dropped from the previous rank C to currently a low rank A. It's truly strange." This general confusion drew attention towards him amid students' doubts and questions about a glitch or malfunction in the Magic Corps' assessment system. A student stepped back in disgust, dismissing the idea of adding him to his team. "I was thinking of adding him, but after knowing his low rank, I see he's dead weight compared to President Guangting's team." Another student mocked with biting sarcasm audibly. "Exactly. Who would gamble and risk their future in the graduation assessment to include a loser with a low rank like him?" A third student pointed gloatingly at him. "He previously rejected Leader Guangting's invitation. He will surely regret and mourn his rotten luck after this shameful result came out." On the other side of the hall, Supervisor Shun watched this embarrassing situation from the podium with a malicious smile and cold glares directed toward his nephew, Guangting, criticizing the situation to himself with veiled sarcasm. "My useless nephew, when will you learn? You lack the experience to correctly use influence and power and manipulate simple human nature." Narrowing his eyes cunningly, he decided to settle the matter. "I will teach you a harsh lesson. I have decided to eliminate this rival of yours from the competition entirely. This whole current situation and the low classification were orchestrated and planned by me so that he would be unable to even participate and form a team." In the university hall, where the survival of the fittest policy manifested in its ugliest form, the supervisor grabbed the megaphone to announce in a warning tone, "Students, use your time and form your teams as quickly as possible." A large crowd of students rushed toward Guangting, trying to win him over, as a first student shouted enthusiastically while pushing his way through. "President Guangting, please include me in your team. Choose me." They surrounded him in complete supplication as a female student begged him with a trembling voice full of hope. "I have been in the student council for 3 years. I won't be a burden, I promise. Take me with you." Some even went too far in groveling for acceptance, as a second student bowed forward in despair, screaming, "Mr. President, my healing class will be a massive weapon for you and the team. Accept me as a supporter, or even as your errand dog." Until his companion shouted in annoyance, harshly pushing the applicants back. "Shut up! Back off, all of you! We only have one vacant seat. We won't take trash." After half an hour passed, the alliances were settled, and the holographic screens in the hall flashed, announcing through the smart wristbands, "Teams complete." The hall buzzed with the sounds of elite teams exchanging wishes for success, while the weak were left to face their grim fate.
In a forgotten corner, our team was swallowing the bitterness of isolation as he looked at his wristband with sorrow and pain. Even after asking everyone in my desperate attempts, no one wants to join us. We are still just 4. His teammate replied with obvious disappointment and extreme tension. At this rate, we won't even be able to enter the graduation exam. We are threatened with total disqualification because we haven't met the quorum. Looking at his leader's assessment screen in turmoil and disbelief. This is insane! How did the sudden drop in your classification happen? Only some high-rank E students are left, and none of them accept us. The other teammate slammed his fist into his hand angrily. Registration requires 5 members, plus a highly rated rank E member. It seems the administration is deliberately targeting our room to impose these impossible registration conditions. While he watched silently, his eyes narrowing coldly. We have no other choice. The combat assessment is our sole opportunity to prove our competence after this deliberate marginalization, realizing in secret with a piercing look that, collective excellence in this test is the only ticket to a promising professional future for all of us. Explaining to his comrades calmly, the density of monsters in the rift is related to the number of team members, so no one wants to carry dead weights, which eliminates the advantage of large, randomly stacked teams. But despite this logic, all students continued their reluctance to ally with those holding low classifications, fleeing from inevitable failure. The situation worsened with the presence of the 3 weakest students in the entire institute inside one dorm room, making them completely outcast.
Amidst the tense atmosphere, a shout broke the isolation from an arrogant student calling out loudly and provocatively, "Hey, Shangzhu, we are 1 person short. Come and join us." Continuing in a condescending and warning tone, "You certainly don't want to stay with the low-rank E trash in your room, do you? If you don't join us, you will be immediately disqualified with them for not meeting the quorum." He watched the situation silently, realizing the danger of the path, inwardly calculating the danger. At this rate, we will be completely outcast and permanently disqualified from the assessment if he agrees. Certain in secret that, inwardly certain, collective rejection will inevitably lead to our disqualification from the competition circle and the destruction of our only chance to evolve. With calm dignity, but the requested teammate turned around calmly to reply disapprovingly, "Thank you for your offer, but I refuse it and apologize," and raised his head with dignity, surprising them all with his strictness. Strict and dignified. "Our room agreed a long time ago to take the test as a team. I will not abandon my roommates regardless of the consequences." The arrogant student got angry and mocked bitterly. "Shh, what an ungrateful bastard. We considered you just a filler anyway. Stay at the bottom." He glared at them coldly, warning them against the consequences of underestimation. The anxious teammate glanced at the assessment screen, with eyes overflowing with extreme anxiety and despair. "Almost impossible. Everyone has found teams. What do we do now?" Pulling his hair in extreme tension. "The top rankers are gone, and the teams are complete. It's impossible to fill our only vacancy to reach the minimum allowed for registration."
Then he fixed his gaze toward the upper platform, discovering the threads of the plot. Recruitment Director Guang Xuan is watching us from the Guang Ting family, logically connecting the events in secret. The kinship connecting the recruitment director to my rival is as clear as day. His features stiffened with determination and defiance. Deciding to change the historical graduation law? The dirty manipulation of my true classification to make me an outcast? Do they really think I am such a big threat that they secure this relative this way? Whispering with resentment about the crudeness of the targeting. I will take this assessment no matter the cost, and since you target me so shamelessly, an icy energy flowed from his body, flooding his surroundings, signaling an imminent fierce storm. The hidden system interface popped up, announcing successful transformation to the new Raksha class. A beastly energy and massive pressure erupted from his being, deciding with a definitive, irrevocable look to end any form of diplomacy. Declaring confidently, his voice dripping with coldness and threat, proving competence is not limited to test papers and fake regulations. Official tests never monopolize the standards of measuring true power. Signs of shock clearly appeared on the features of the recruitment director as he watched this sudden rebellion. His teammate turned around in bewilderment, trembling and taking a step back. "Hey, what are you doing, man? What's your next move?" Reminding him in a confident tone amidst the restlessness of the surrounding crowds. The Academy and its ancient history encouraged live duels to prove competence. Smiling with absolute ferocity, I will challenge Guang Ting in front of everyone. Launching individual challenges is the most effective, albeit most provocative way to prove worthiness with absolute power. His rising aura forced the crowds to step back in awe as he maliciously hinted, Once he is crushed, this arrogant elite will pant to join our team out of fear, even if some of them try to evade the duel. Asserting with complete conviction, it's impossible for him to refuse this public challenge while surrounded by his followers. While the rival maintained his absolute composure, feigning indifference, the scene grew tense with exchanged energy-charged glares, signaling an imminent violent clash between the two rivals. With a surprising graceful shift, the charged stillness of the arena was interrupted by a soft female voice asking clearly as she approached smiling. Si-Chen, is your team still looking for members? You have a vacant seat, right? Continuing confidently, causing everyone to turn to her in bewilderment. I would like to participate in the graduation assessment with you to complete the number. The vice president appeared confident, smiling coldly to reassure them. I reached rank D in middle school since I was young, so I promise I will never be a burden to you. His companions were tongue-tied from surprise as his friend wondered to himself, drowning in confusion. Since when does he know the vice president of the council, and what is the connection between them for her to support him like this? A follower of the rival sharply denounced the situation, stammering in shock. Damn it, the official is going to join trash like him? While shock completely tied his leader's tongue, the director's face frowned and turned pale with anger at this sudden turn of events, threatening his cunning plan. Students' rumors and whispers erupted in surprise at the decision of the outstanding exchange student ranked as vice president to support these outcasts. He objected loudly and angrily, trying to save his plan. Miss Ling Yu, as an exchange student, you do not have the right to participate. You have no legal right to engage in our academy's internal assessment. Furthermore, we have no documents proving your current classification. This is a blatant violation of the rules. But she faced his claims steadily, as if she expected this response.
Suddenly, a deep, booming voice pierced the arena's silence, shaking the entire hall as the principal appeared out of nowhere in support. Recruitment Director X is absolutely right. The director paled with panic, and the students gasped in shock following this sudden appearance of the ghost principal of the institute. The principal looked at the vice president with overwhelming majesty, interrogating her motive. You are here as a guest for a short period. Why involve yourself in this test by barging in suddenly? He analyzed the situation in secret with intense focus. When did he appear? I thought he was of the solid warrior class. How does a principal of this combat class possess the complex instant teleportation technique? The principal strictly hinted. Your participation will disrupt the balance of parity in the test, don't you agree? She replied with indifference and a brief provocative apology. Oh, what a pity. He secretly activated his skill stealthily. Inwardly stealthy. I will use the exploratory purgatory insight to penetrate the classifications of the principal and this mysterious newcomer. But he became apprehensive and retreated mentally. Damn, total failure. I cannot read the rank of either of them. Their system is completely encrypted against my absolute system.
The director hastened to flatteringly support the principal's position under the pretext of upholding the regulations, sweating profusely. Exactly, Principal. We must uphold the strict regulations of the assessment at any cost to ensure integrity. The principal directed his words to the director in a tone carrying a strict, veiled threat. Our mission and message at the National University is to hone the super elite and provide a fair platform to showcase their talents. Continuing his decisive statement with absolute passion, the institute must be transformed into a sustainable mine for honing mighty talents to prepare them for the upcoming global arena. Strongly denouncing and warning him, the graduation exam is the major turning point. If any cadre is deprived of this historical opportunity due to administrative complications or exceptions, how will we maintain our prestige as a supreme academy? Terror permeated the director's limbs as he wondered to himself with suspicion and fatal fear. Is this senile old man directing his words at me? Has he realized and then covered my demonic manipulation of the system data? Deep down, he bitterly disapproved. It doesn't matter. I won't clash with him, but how did the principal and this newcomer ally to support a mere marginalized student like him? Opting for a tactical retreat, leaning on his absolute certainty of their relative's victory in secret. It's fine. The victory is sealed for us anyway. Reassuring himself with malicious comfort. Internally reassuring. The elite teams are complete, and our team is at the top, while he is isolated with the weakest student links. Let them participate to be crushed. Announcing in a dramatic retreat to the principal. You have spoken the truth, Principal. The recruitment department misjudged. I announce the cancellation of numerical and classification restrictions. Incomplete teams are allowed to participate and their legitimacy is accepted. The doors are open to everyone. The electronic system immediately approved documenting the team's registration, and the holographic screen of their team flashed, announcing Team Complete. Joy overwhelmed the comrades as his teammate jumped for joy. Yes, we can finally take the test. You are the team leader. Take the banner. He calmly took the leadership banner in response to their request. The principal observed the situation and the new dynamic with a mysterious smile, whispering to himself, "You are very interested in this boy. Quite interesting." Drawing an intellectual comparison in his mind, internally comparing. On one hand, we have the strongest team in history, and on the other, the youngest bottom-ranking ones. Eagerly anticipating what will happen. Internally, eagerly anticipating. I wonder which crawling path they'll choose, and which rift they'll storm. I await the final results impatiently. The supervisor signaled the start, announcing, "Now team leaders have the right to choose their dungeons and the rift to be stormed from the central panel." As soon as the system opened, the central screen flashed with shocking news along with a loud alarm announcing the submission of the choice, and the red square lit up sharply next to their team to announce the immediate settling of the choice. A widespread wave of bewilderment swept the crowds upon discovering the speed of their team's lightning-fast and entirely unexpected initiative. Massive chaos erupted, interrupting the supervisor as the students fixed their eyes on the screen in screaming shock. What? This fast? Their team is already chosen? Damn it, did they really choose that rift? Panic struck the roommates. They grabbed him, crying in terror and begging. "Have you gone mad? Go back immediately and cancel the choice. For hell's sake, man! Do you realize what nightmare you just chose?" While he stood frozen in his place with the firmness of ice, ignoring his comrades' panic, and prepared to storm the eye of the storm that he had ignited with deadly steadiness.
In the crowded assessment courtyard, the supervisor's voice echoed through the megaphone, explaining strictly. "Listen closely. The combat assessment is the pivotal turning point for students, where they fight live, rated battles inside actual dungeons for the first time." Continuing in a warning tone. "The system imposes an immediate deduction for every surviving monster, necessitating absolute precision alongside power to ensure reaping the perfect score, which is 10 points for a complete clear." Pointing his hand at the assessment screen, confirming. "Eliminating the dungeon boss grants an additional clean 20 points without imposing penalties in case of failure." Emphasizing the crucial time factor. "The time factor dictates finishing the tasks within 1 hour to guarantee the allocated 20 points, with a progressive deduction for any delay." Explaining the rank multipliers precisely. "The dungeon's rank determines the total points ceiling, as an F-rank dungeon's points do not exceed a maximum of 75 points. Raising his voice with motivating enthusiasm. "Whereas the maximum for an E-rank dungeon rises to a full 100 points. Announcing the awaited grand prizes. The elite winning first place will be rewarded with official immediate offers to join the Great Imperial Guild." Concluding his announcement with blazing enthusiasm. "And the MVP will be crowned with a direct administrative position, along with a financial prize estimated at 1 million yuan. A first student whispered to his colleagues with enthusiasm and awe. "Do you remember the legendary historical record of 90 points? It was set by the genius currently leading the guild. The E-dungeon is very difficult." A second student nodded, confirming with certainty. "Any squad needs 3 rank D fighters to compete for it. I think Guangting's team will inevitably shatter the record." Suddenly, a sharp alarm blared in the hall. The system screen shocked everyone with an early, lightning-fast confirmation of a team's selection. A third student screamed in bewilderment, pointing at the screen. "What? A team has already chosen its dungeon this fast?" The hall erupted in bewilderment the moment the team's name was announced. The students' eyes widened in terror as they read the screen. Damn, it's Si Chen's team, and what's worse is his suicidal choice of the unprecedented rank D dungeon in student history. The screen displayed the system notification in bold red letters. Team leader selected Dungeon D, awaiting members' vote. A sarcastic student laughed mockingly amidst the chaos. "Ha! He must have messed up and pressed the wrong button. They're a low-rank E team. This is a disastrous technical error." His friend grabbed his head and shook it in bewilderment and terror. "Si Chen, have you lost your mind? Are you insane? Do you realize what you just chose?" While their teammate froze in terror, calling him an absolute madman and lamenting. How did I end up in a team led by a total lunatic?" He looked at the screen with fear, his hand trembling over the reject button. "Is it too late to withdraw immediately?" His friend screamed in his face sharply. "Man, did you really think this through? This is a rank D dungeon. It's straight suicide and throwing us to our doom." He replied with icy coldness and a steady gaze piercing the soul, settling the argument. "Yes, I thought about it carefully. This is my decision, out of awareness and deep thought." Another decisive notification flashed from the system, and a second alarm blared across the expectant hall. The system announced with a mechanical voice, "Guangting's team quorum is complete.
and registration is successful. Faces paled again following the system's confirmation of the appearance of a second competing D dungeon. Students screamed with enthusiasm mixed with sarcasm. Oh my god, Guangting's team also chose a rank D dungeon to compete. This year is going to be epic. A female member of the opposing team looked at his team with disgust and mockery. Those losers don't possess an ounce of power, and they know they'll be at the bottom of the rankings, continuing her mockery with arrogance. So they're making this desperate, showy move just to grab attention before their inevitable bottom placement. Another member mocked, predicting their collapse. Their team will collapse and withdraw before even entering the dungeon. I advise you to withdraw early, you scum. Amid the mockery and sarcasm, his friend fell silent, contemplating the strict aura of determination dressing his leader's features, wondering inwardly about the emergence of this leadership aura. Since when does he possess this terrifying leadership aura? He was always dependent, continuing his thoughts and recalling their memories. We spent the last 4 years together, and I relied on him completely, smiling with bitterness and satisfaction, declaring his total loyalty to his leader. I will stay with you to the end, in loyalty to our years of companionship, and presses the confirm button. His teammates sighed with indifference and pressed approve. Whatever happens, we're inevitably in last place, whether in rank F or D. Preferring to explore the latter and try his luck, everyone turned to wait for the final member's hesitant decision. He jolted with feigned anger, denouncing his marginalization. Hey, I'm the boss and the strongest in the dorm here. How can I be the last to agree? Settling his joining enthusiastically and pressing forcefully. We're graduating anyway, so let's fight fiercely and go to hell together. The system announced with a mechanical voice. Chen's team registration, completely successful. He looked at his comrades with seriousness and gratitude, apologizing. Sorry guys, for dragging you into a rank D dungeon. Justifying his suicidal move clearly. I chose the rank D dungeon as an inevitable endeavor to snatch the MVP title. Continuing strictly. And I had to drag you with me on this dangerous path, appealing to them with a decisive tone. So, let's fight as one body and crush the highest rating. His rival stepped forward with a decisive and terrifying competitive coldness, monopolizing the title. Si Chen, the first place, and the MVP title are mine alone. A charged silence fell over his team as our hero slowly turned toward his arrogant challenger. The rival stared with a flare. There cannot be 2 masters of this school, confirming the impossibility of having 2 masters. The vice president watched the scene in bewilderment. This is the first time I've seen Guangting with this unaccustomed seriousness on his features, telling herself with certainty. I am now certain the conflict between the 2 poles has emerged publicly and blatantly. The director nodded with admiration. Today's youth possess incredible audacity and courage. But she doubted his capability and hesitated. But Chen's choice of the rank D dungeon is arrogance and overconfidence. Even if he is rank C, it's impossible for him to clear it alone. Noting the multipliers. The rank D dungeon's triple multiplier is the largest, raising the maximum to 150 points, confirming the doubled difficulty. But its difficulty is doubled compared to rank E. This choice is reckless, based on the team's weakness. The director sighed, agreeing with her and ruling it out. You're right, the possibility of closing the power gap in just 1 month is highly unlikely. Settling to wish them luck. I just hope they present an honorable performance, nothing more.
The time limit dwindled to 17 days before the awaited and decisive test. While the elite trained in luxury, he subjected his team to grueling physical training outside the comfortable magical simulation rooms. His friend fell to the ground, panting and vomiting from exhaustion, complaining with fatigue. Chen, the grueling physical training is too exhausting, denouncing their deprivation and comparing it to a race. Everyone is training in the magical simulation rooms. Why are you making us run like we're in a triathlon? He stood over him strictly, cutting off the complaining, his eyes blazing. Simulation rooms remain an artificial environment, no matter how precise and realistic they get, confirming with a firm voice. When you enter a real dungeon and face terrifying monsters reeking of death, that will trigger an unknown terror that completely paralyzes your movement, asserting with complete conviction. Survival there does not depend on the theories you memorized. The moves will evaporate from your head. What will save you is only your raw instinct. Leaning down and gripping his friend's shoulder firmly, justifying his reliance. The physical endurance, explosive power, and response speed we are building now, concluding his sentence with indisputable strictness, are the fundamental pillar of honing instincts which will keep you alive and facing the real danger, considering the school's simulation useless. Live combat and direct confrontation is the only path to evolution, complaining about the elite's monopoly with suppressed anger.
The elite with influence and privileges monopolize training opportunities in actual dungeons to maintain their power and widen the gap between us.
At the same time, the opposing elite team was actively annihilating monsters inside an actual dungeon, moving with deadly precision to consolidate their dominance and widen the gap from the rest of the students increasingly and terrifyingly, exploiting their wealth and class resources acquired since birth to deprive others of them with extreme selfishness. His teammate was frustrated by their capability as marginalized people, asking,
So what can marginalized and weak people like us do to face this elite?
He faced them with steely resolve and stared at them steadily. By breaching the Imperial Guild, we will shatter this class barrier before their eyes, considering the test their only ticket to survival. This test is your only ticket to rebel against the authoritarian privileged, pledging to harness his energies with absolute certainty. It is my personal opportunity to crush them, and I will harness all my energy to fulfill my promise, screaming with definitive certainty about the inevitability of their collective fight. So we will fight together, and we will snatch victory, no matter the cost. And so the harsh training continued, 15 days before the decisive exam day that will change the course of destinies. Inside the unknown Dark Tower dimension, he panted and prepared with solid, unbreakable resolve. I must exceed my limits. He found himself wrestling fiercely with the predatory phantom tigers that filled the floor. He lunged, brandishing his electrified blade, roaring, "Take this, you filthy beasts!" He threw all his weight and energy into the battle, but the tigers proved their overwhelming superiority and terrifying numbers. A phantom tiger pounced from the blind spot in the barren wasteland of stars, striking with its claws. He received the crushing blow and fell to the ground, coughing blood. Ugh, this place is never merciful. The tigers here, they are crushing me. This confirms the damn lethality of this tower. This triggered the critical countdown, with only 10 days remaining until the decisive and fateful assessment. In physical reality, he subjected his team to relentless hellish training, standing strictly. Hurry up, don't stop, move or you will die. In contrast, his nightly progress inside the tower witnessed a fast leap, standing amidst the phantom corpses. I've started getting used to their speed. He managed to take down several tigers with excessive ease. In a parallel and comfortable dungeon, the leader continued hunting monsters non-stop, smiling coldly while slaughtering a monster. Every drop of blood here increases my power. The remaining time shrank and compressed to only 5 decisive days. He and his comrades focused on grueling weight training, with his friend screaming while carrying the weights.
I'm dying. My body's tearing apart.
The remaining time shrank to only 3 days before the awaited confrontation and destiny. The leader displayed his new form before his team, showcasing his terrifying aura. My power has doubled. The first place is secured for me. Time shrank to only 2 days from the awaited date that would determine destinies. Inside the tower, he finally succeeded in annihilating the tiger boss, and the system interface flashed in blue. Ascending to level 16. He jumped up, victorious and ready, standing amidst the tiger corpses, panting, ignoring his bloody wounds. Only 1 day left. The real battle starts tomorrow. The promised day arrived on June 17th, and the tense atmosphere launched in the Institute's arena, signaling the start of the assessment. A robotic bird hovered before the students, announcing with a loud mechanical voice, "Welcome, examinees. I am your automated monitor and guide for the test." He tightened his grip on his combat gloves, preparing to storm the battle. It's time. His team was cloaked in serious and very strict features, as his friend whispered to their teammates seriously. No room for recklessness today. The robot released the resounding official starting signal. Please check your shackles, combat equipment, and magic bracelets. The test has officially begun. At that moment, very luxurious cars crowded in front of the Institute in the administrative courtyard, from which stepped a man in a black suit with a clear aura of authority that imposed itself. The Institute director rushed to him, bowing in respect, and initiated a handshake with extreme warmth. Welcome back, President Guanlin. It turned out to be the leader's father, as one student whispered to his friend in absolute bewilderment. It's Guanlin, the co-founder of the Imperial Guild. The students watched the scene in shock and bewilderment as another student whispered, "What prestige? But who is in the car behind him to make the director and the founder stand like guards like this?" A student was stunned by the surprise immediately upon the arrival of the arriving personality, represented by a man with blonde hair and a woman with sharp looks, screaming in disbelief. Impossible! It's Carl Cavendish, the vice president of the Global Guild Alliance!
Absolute bewilderment swept the crowds of students for the arrival of the High Alliance leadership personally to their humble institute. The students realized that a visit by a personality of this weight justified the complete evacuation of the administrative area that day to secure their attendance. Circulating certainty among themselves. The presence of the Global Alliance means one thing. Whoever catches their attention today will change their fate forever. In the Supreme Monitoring Room, the recruitment director reviewed the statistics before the Alliance leaders with total professionalism. We officially have the participation of 184 students divided into 28 combat teams, detailing the choices with precise explanation. The vast majority chose rank F, and 3 teams ventured into rank E, and there are only 2 teams that dared and stormed the deadly rank D. The Alliance leader widened her eyes in sharp bewilderment at the audacity. Dungeon D? It's extremely dangerous and reaches the extreme degree, even for professionals. Did you warn the students sufficiently against targeting it? He justified with a malicious and reassuring smile. Of course we warned them, but their lack of experience makes them reckless. In fact, even rank F is considered a sufficient challenge for most of them. Look. The broadcast moved to F layer and he commented, but suddenly the lair boss appeared, showing the spiny salamander crushing them, and he commented. But their collision with the lair master turned the tables and made them taste woe. And on the E layer screen, the danger escalated, and he continued coldly. As for rank E, the ordinary monsters there equate the power of rank F bosses. A suffocating atmosphere loomed in E layer, before armies of giant spiders swarmed all corners of the place, spreading terror. A student screamed in terror and despair at the shock of the terrifying difficulty.
Help! There are too many of them! I can't escape!
He confirmed confidently to the Alliance leaders. The impossibility of clearing E-layer for the vast majority of students is clear and evident. The leader mobilized and stood up with deep anxiety. This is impossible and deadly for the students. Where is the immediate evacuation and safety plans detection? He reassured her with absolute confidence and a calm smile, explaining the security system precisely. Don't worry, ensuring the safety of the students is an absolute priority. The Imperial Guild forces are mobilized outside, and the magic bracelets they are wearing are integrated with instant teleportation technology, pointing to the screen proudly, which just proved its effectiveness inside the perilous Dungeon F, where a student was shown on the broadcast screaming, "I withdraw! Take me out of here!" Secret sat down and nodded with intense admiration, praising the Institute. A wonderful system and perfect protection. I am truly anticipating with great passion the performance of the teams storming rank D. While he watched the broadcast with malice and underlying gloating toward his rivals' team's screens secretly. Those fools and adventurers. It will be a pathetic show, and they will withdraw soon, inevitably and surely. Then, the broadcast shifted to the high-risk cloud forest peak of rank D, where his team was located amidst thick fog and towering grim trees, as his friend screamed, terrified and pointing upwards. "What are these things moving above? They're terrifying!" The terrifying monster materialized before them, and the system interface flashed with a screaming warning. Phantom Bat Monkey, rank D, Cloud Assassin. He analyzed the enemy instantly, with cutthroat coldness. Cloud-type collective aerial attack monsters. Their speed is insane. Beware of surprise lunges. The team barely understood until shadows of successive monsters emerged from the thick cloud forest like a flood. Armies of rank D monsters launched towards them with lightning-fast, deadly speed. He launched the alert call to repel the attack with a decisive, booming voice. "They've come! Dodge immediately!"
The phantom bat monkeys landed like living missiles right over their heads, seeking to tear them to pieces. Thanks to their grueling physical training, the body of every member reacted with raw instinct, and they succeeded in evading the successive lunges with amazing speed. They survived by a miracle from the tearing claws that nearly ended their lives. His teammate was stunned by their success, panting in disbelief. "Oh my God, I just survived a Dungeon D attack!" While his friend couldn't believe his own survival. I didn't die! Suddenly, a lifeless monster corpse fell before their bewildered eyes, then the second, then the third in a row. They froze in their spots at the horror of the fast and sudden unbelievable scene, for he had crushed 3 rank D monsters in the blink of an eye, and his electrified blade was dripping blood while he stood firmly and proudly among them.
At the peak of the rank D cloud forest, the battle wasn't just a test, it was a true massacre. He shouted strictly while watching the bats lunge. "Just defend yourselves and dodge. Your current abilities can't even scratch them. I'll handle them all." In a lightning flash, his blade glowed, shouting, "God of Flash!" And he vanished from his spot with a burst of speed beyond the reach of sight. The comrades began a desperate struggle, panting in fear. "Oh my God!" The friends struggled desperately to avoid the successive monster attacks from the sky that left them no room to catch their breath. One barely survived. Sliding and evading a deadly claw, he lost his balance and collided with a tree. Then his eyes widened in realization. "Damn! My body is moving on its own! Now I understand the true meaning behind Chen's grueling training on explosiveness and reflexes." While his teammate looked at him with frustration mixed with bitterness and understanding of his own weakness. He knew beforehand that we didn't have the strength to help him. He didn't rely on us. He only aimed to keep us alive. Damn my helplessness. I'm the dorm leader. Continuing to blame himself with silent anger. How did I end up as a deadweight clinging to Si-Chen's back to pass graduation? He mixed shock with his frustration, grasping the truth of his weakness before the real hell. Meanwhile, he swept through the arena like an electrified hurricane. Lightning Blade! Obliterating the monsters with precise, absolute strikes that fell them one after another without mercy, like a dance of death. A new wave of rank D monsters pounced toward him from every direction, with the intent to crush him completely and tear him apart. While he tore through their ranks with supernatural prowess that sparked terror, beheading a monster in cold blood. Next, he watched the scene with intense focus and shock, analyzing inwardly. I'm watching his movements, recalling Ma Long's testimony about Chen's terrifying strength last night, admitting to his absolute strength. And all my previous doubts completely vanished before the certainty of the live battle before me now, analyzing his terrifying precision. This prowess never belonged to an academic student. This dominance and precision rise to the level of a seasoned warrior honed by bloodbaths hundreds of times over. When did he become this terrifying? He swallowed his anger of helplessness, admitting to the legendary widening gap between them, and acknowledging him as a sudden pillar of trust and their only savior in this hell. His reverie was interrupted by a warning scream, as his teammate shouted in terror. "Xiangju, watch out! Attack from behind!" Warning of a treacherous attack by a phantom bat. He bent with an acrobatic flip, shouting, "Damn it!" and evaded the attack before regaining his combat balance with difficulty. He summoned his energy with solid resolve. "I will not die here," and tightened his flame-ignited fists in preparation to retaliate. He shouted at his comrades with sharpness and anger, refusing their remaining as dead weights. "Do you want to stay as dead weights, watching while Chen fights hell alone?" Continuing to motivate them warmly. "We are not helpless spectators," emphasizing enthusiastically on the collective nature of the test. "This is a collective test. I won't let him monopolize the starring role of the scene entirely. Attack!" His scream ignited the fuse of resolve in his comrades' chests as he slammed his hands on the ground with mad enthusiasm. "I'm with you," supporting him immediately. He launched his skill, challenging the monster to taste it. "Ivy bindings, taste this, you freak." The roots flowing from the ground shackled the monster with temporary success, causing the monster to scream angrily and roar. But the monster roared and shattered the restraints brutally as he spat blood after the recoil force threw him far away. "It's too immune!" The situation reached a critical point, with the monster preparing for a deadly lunge at him who had fallen to the ground. His friend intervened unexpectedly with all his energy, directing his spell at the monster. "Your turn is over! Take this! Frost Storm!" Freezing the monster in its place, he shouted with exhaustion, motivating his friend. "I froze it! Xiangyu, double attack!" The two tightened their siege on the paralyzed monster, and he summoned his roots again as they shouted together at the same time. "Now!" calling on him to seize the decisive moment. "Xiangju, finish it now!" He charged his total energy into his fists, shouting, "Take this, explosive flame projectile!" The projectile hit the monster's face with precision, creating a resounding explosion and a monstrous pained scream. Boom! But the smoke cleared to reveal a monster still standing as he gritted his teeth with frustration. Damn it! The strike failed to end the life of the immune creature! He continued bombarding the monster with a relentless barrage of explosive projectiles, shouting, Die! 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 The flames drained the monster's endurance, forcing it to scream continuously under the weight of the burning and destructive pain. He screamed while bleeding near the collapse of his defense. Hurry, Jew! My defense is collapsing before the monster's fierce resistance! He fell to his knees, panting heavily, announcing he had reached his maximum limit and helplessness. I have reached my maximum limit! I can't maintain the freezing anymore! Faced with this imminent collapse of everyone, he gathered his maximum energy to form a giant fireball, burning the air. Please, hold on for another second, he shouted with sharp decisiveness, announcing the release of his final knockout blow. This is it, my final knockout blow! Engaging a sweeping attack and a giant explosion that blew up the area and annihilated the monster completely, turning it into scattered ash. The explosion dust cleared to reveal a robot hovering to excitedly announce the news of their taking down the Phantom Bat. Congratulations! You have just successfully cleared a Rank D Phantom Bat! The three collapsed to the ground and stretched out on their backs, panting from extreme exhaustion, stunned and disbelieving at the miracle of them taking down a Rank D monster. He was surprised with sincerity and admiration inwardly at their resilience and impossible achievement. They really took it down. Willpower truly creates miracles. He panted, smiling with exaggerated pride, addressing his leader. Did you see this impossible achievement, Chen? Boasting with a confident smile about the ease of the illusory task. It was so easy. Didn't I tell you? We aren't dead weights? He smiled calmly, evaluating their performance with sincerity and kindness. Your performance wasn't bad at all. The robot continued its announcements, confirming the total clearing. Clearing of all ordinary monsters complete. Clearing percentage 100%. 10 points added to the team. In the supreme monitoring room, he was stunned behind the screens, jaw dropped, dropping his pen from the magnitude of the unexpected surprise, asking with shock, unleashing his utter bewilderment. What? Impossible! How could these failing students of the low rank E take down a rank D monster that exceeds them in level? This defies the laws of power. The principal and the leader's father shared the same fascination and shock, exchanging looks in stunned silence as they watched the live broadcast of what had just happened. Amid all this bewilderment, a deep and mysterious smile spread across his face as he watched him exclusively, quietly praising the amazing performance and impressive admiration for this young man. What an amazing and impressive performance by this young man! The precision of his attacks, his calmness in directing his team. Amazing! Hinting cryptically at how similar he was to a legendary figure from his past inwardly. This dominance on the arena, he reminds me of someone from the distant past.
In the high monitoring room where the threads of power intertwine, he stared at the screen with subtle, dangerous satisfaction, whispering as his eyes gleamed with sick cunning. His name is Si Chen, isn't it? I will remember this name well. Vowing to memorize it by heart, these quiet words stirred the resentment of his colleague, who turned and glared at the recruitment director with a fiery, sharp-as-a-blade look, demanding an explanation. The director was rattled with bewilderment and terror at the intensity of the look, sensing the weight of the pressure crushing his shoulders and nearly choking him. He rushed to save the situation with fox-like skill, diverting attention toward another display screen while exclaiming excitedly, "Everyone, look here, the other team that chose Dungeon D, Guang Ting's team," inviting the attendees with fake enthusiasm to observe the elite team which had reached the middle of the dungeon and penetrated it with eye-catching skill. The Alliance Secretary General praised with intense admiration. Exquisite organization. The coordination between them is flawless. Confirming that their collective performance rivals the fluidity of professional teams, he leaned forward with interest and admiration, praising, "Oh, interesting. The graduation class this year is truly exceptional." The director flashed a malicious smile inwardly, certain with cunning. The actual battle hasn't started yet, and the pre-arranged play will ensure our candidate takes first place.
In the depths of Dungeon D, the elite team raided with decisive caution the gloomy vine cave area, which was teeming with poisonous and repulsive vine soldiers. One of the girls played the melody of death with her instrument, screaming, "Wither, hymn of withering!" Stripping the monsters of their stamina and speed in the blink of an eye, she ordered her colleague to move, who activated the purple astral fusion energy and compressed the monsters into a single mass, calling out with reverence, "I've gathered them into one mass, Mr. Leader." At a perfectly timed and carefully studied moment, the leader materialized in the heart of the battle, brandishing his blade ignited with hellfire. He exploited the helpless cluster of monsters before him with maximum ruthlessness that knew no mercy, launching a crushing attack without hesitation while roaring powerfully, "Crush!" delivering a devastating blow to the trapped and paralyzed monsters. The blow resulted in a fiery space explosion that swallowed the creatures all at once and turned them into scattered ash. His mighty aura continued to glow amidst the ashes, revealing a terrifying, tyrannical power that refused competition. One of the followers watched the scene with confidence and relaxation, recalling the prior training. "These monsters are the exact same ones we were secretly training to fight. It's become second nature to us," making the confrontation closer to a prearranged play. They became certain of the success of their blatant manipulation of the assessment, confirming the advantage of influence. Life becomes much easier when you possess influence, and they were certain of securing first place indisputably, as his younger brother ordered them enthusiastically. "Come on, it's time to kill the boss and continue the advance." His team continued their relentless bloody advance toward the most dangerous parts of the dungeon, the Dark Cloud Forest Peak, overcoming the savage obstacles to finally step onto the peak of the ridge where the fog slowly dissipates. His friend complained, panting and placing his hands on his knees with exhaustion. "I can't believe it. We really reached the peak of a rank D dungeon alive." The vision revealed a colossal, tyrannical monster called Cloud Soldier Snow Monkey of rank D. His teammate wondered with bewilderment and panic about the identity of this terrifying boss, while his other teammate trembled, backing away and admitting fear. "A single strike from him will crush me to death. Damn it, he's looking at us." The monkey devoured the smaller creatures nearby with excessive brutality before aiming its icy, deadly glares towards them. His friend was struck with absolute terror, screaming in panic at the monkey's predatory glares that froze his blood in his veins. The snow monkey crawled towards them and growled in anger with heavy steps that shook the ground under their trembling feet. Terror seized the three members, and they fled without thinking, while he froze in place with a calm that precedes the storm. He pounced unexpectedly toward the monster with supernatural speed that the naked eye could not perceive, and charged lightning energy into his blade, launching a direct, thunderous attack toward the massive body to tear it apart. The force of the impact forced the giant monster to retreat a step backward, groaning with sharp pain. He vanished again in the blink of an eye, to appear like a ghost right behind the monkey, and showered it with a barrage of explosive blows in succession, depriving it of any chance to retaliate or defend. The snow monkey's body shattered in mere seconds into scattered pieces that gradually melted into the air, completely annihilated, leaving behind nothing but frost and nothingness. His friend watched the scene stunned and shocked, unable to comprehend the ease of the battle. Did he just kill it this easily?
A system notification emerged, announcing they had obtained fur and only 200 experience points. He grew suspicious and knit his brows at the meager loot and paltry experience for a rank D dungeon boss, realizing inwardly the existence of a hidden agenda and some trap lurking for them. His deep doubts were interrupted by an excessively enthusiastic scream from his teammate. "Guys, look at this!" Pointing with his trembling finger toward a mysterious tree hollow filled with shiny crystals that stole the sight, guessing greedily that it contained a vast fortune. "This giant monster must have hidden all the mana crystals here. Their size indicates that they are at least mid-grade." He drowned in illusions of imminent wealth as he rushed like a madman. "If we extract and sell them, we will live wealthy for the rest of our lives." He tried to warn him with a desperate and decisive scream. "Stop! Don't touch it!" Lest he swallow the deadly bait. But it was too late. The hand of greed reached toward doom and touched the trap. The touch led to a destructive energy wave explosion resulting from the latent and deadly ice explosion bomb technique belonging to the Cloud Mage class of high rank and supernatural power. The destructive explosion threw everyone into the air with merciless brutality that left nothing behind. The entire team was frozen into solid ice blocks the moment they hit, shattering the accompanying robot with them to completely cut off the broadcast connection from the outside. He watched the scene behind the screens with a malicious, gloating smile as he saw the lost signal, gloating over their fall into the deadly trap, describing them as a burden with a condescending tone. They fell into the trap. High-rank monsters are very smart. Once a failure, you will always be a failure and a burden to society, and this marks the end of your journey.
He warned with seriousness and strictness of the deadly danger to the students' lives, and the director agreed with blatant hypocrisy. Yes, definitely, student safety is our absolute priority, demanding the termination of the assessment and the summoning of rescue teams, but the principal objected with calm and a piercing look, demanding the team be granted more deserved time, confirming with firmness and certainty. The bracelets monitor their status constantly, and their vital signs are completely stable. He added to silence the hypocrites. And the absence of any withdrawal indicator from their neural data means they are fighting. Therefore, the option of withdrawal must be left to the examinees themselves. In the ice arena, where dense fog covers the place, his friend struggled desperately to maintain his consciousness with difficulty, resisting the bitter cold that gnawed at his bones, while he trembled and sneezed. Cold! The weather, it's bitterly cold! He thanked his belonging to the cloud class with bitterness. Fortunately, I am of the cloud class. That granted me slight resistance to the cold. Otherwise, I would have been completely frozen like the rest.
From the heart of the dense ice fog, the echo of a monstrous laugh resonated, and a terrifying entity materialized with an aura that crushed everything they had previously faced of horrors. He realized with absolute shock and terror that widened his eyes that the defeated monkey was nothing but a puppet and a curtain for the bigger game, and that the true and monstrous master of the dungeon, the actual nightmare of rank D, had just arrived to devour them completely.
His eyes widened in pure shock as he stared at that terrifying, foggy entity, muttering with terror covering his features.
This is impossible. I read about this thing in the monster encyclopedia.
His body trembled violently as he added with a broken voice.
It's the Cloud Mage, a creature specialized in ice attacks and crowd control. It's cunning and enjoys torturing its prey slowly. It's the Ice Bone King.
He panted heavily, grasping the gravity of the situation, and said,
The previous ice bomb wasn't an ordinary trap. It set it up to divide and ensnare us.
He looked sorrowfully at his completely frozen comrade and screamed desperately.
It's a rank C boss. I can't face it alone. I must wake him up.
Then he dashed forward at his maximum possible speed. In the midst of his dash, he thought to himself with feverish determination,
I must thaw the ice off Chen immediately. If I free him, we'll have a slim chance of survival.
But suddenly, an ice blade shot out like a lightning-fast arrow to pierce his leg with merciless cruelty, making him let out a resounding cry of pain.
Ah!
He collapsed weakly onto the cold ground after the burning pain completely paralyzed his movement and brought him down. At that moment, the monster echoed a hollow, mocking laugh, enjoying seeing its victim fall before it, writhing in weakness. A red flash illuminated his vision as the system issued an emergency warning due to his continuous bleeding, and a cold message appeared before him. General warning. Rank C boss emerged. Final probe deployed. He ignored the pain squeezing his body and screamed firmly in refusal.
Impossible! I won't withdraw!
Determined to free his comrade no matter the cost in blood, he crawled with extreme difficulty, gathering what remained of his exhausted strength, shouting,
Absolute cleansing! I will free you, Chen!
But before he could finish activating his skill, the monster fired another ice blade that pierced his body with double the cruelty. The cruel system message appeared before him again. Cleansing failed, and he fell once more from the intensity of the tearing pain. The monster continued its mocking and provocative laughter, watching its prey struggle and bleed in vain. Amid this hell, the system repeated its urgent warnings with a robotic voice. Warning, pulse is critical. Severe arm injury. Do you wish to withdraw? He thought to himself with pain mixed with memories. Withdraw? Running is what always kept me in the back, weak and outcast like the shadows of others. He continued his internal dialogue with bitter oppression. I've always been treated as if I were an insignificant nobody, living amidst everyone's mockery and ridicule. We put our lives on the line to get here, and faced too many hardships to back down. He grit his teeth tightly and thought to himself with unprecedented resolve. Returning to being weak hurts more than these fatal wounds. I will never turn back. He raised his trembling, blood-soaked hand, screaming in refusal of total despair. I will never give up. I refuse this miserable end. He mustered all his remaining energy and scattered mana and screamed with all his might. Absolute cleansing! Directing his final skill toward the ice restraining his companion. He knew perfectly well deep down that freeing him now was their only and final chance to survive this nightmare. The boss exploited his complete distraction with his final desperate attempt and prepared a massive, deadly attack to finish him off and erase him entirely from existence. But he did not retreat. He continued pumping mana and screamed with a force that shook the surroundings. Ah! Completely ignoring the imminent danger threatening his life with certain death. In that defining moment, his companion suddenly opened his eyes, shattering the solid ice surrounding him, sending it flying like shrapnel with a sharp, cold look. He moved with blinding speed and said to him, "Hold on to me." Then he pulled him forcibly out of the path of the deadly attacks in a fraction of a second. The ice monster was taken by surprise and froze in its tracks, shocked by the reaction speed that exceeded its expectations. He carefully propped his injured companion against a safe rock, away from the direct danger zone. The battered companion coughed up blood from his mouth, saying with exhaustion and a faint smile, "In the end, you had to break the ice and free yourself with your own power." He interrupted him with complete calm while inspecting his severe wounds. "No, you helped me a lot and bought me time. Are you okay?"
To which his companion replied, "I'm not in mortal danger. I stopped the bleeding, and I will hold on." He warned him with deep concern, panting, "But Chen, this Bone King is a rank C boss. It's extremely powerful. We can't let it freeze us again." A sudden, terrifying sense of approaching mortal danger interrupted them, so they quickly turned around to find the monster preparing a crushing attack that leaves nothing behind. The creature gathered a massive, dark ice energy, screaming with a voice that shook the cave. "Giant Ice Explosion Bomb!" The boss's sick, hysterical laughter echoed throughout the place, as if announcing the end of this game. He screamed in terror and shock. "What the hell? How did it summon a bomb of this terrifying size? There's no space to escape. We're doomed." A massive, devastating explosion resounded, ravaging the entire area and turning it in the blink of an eye into blinding total whiteness. As the flying ice dust slowly cleared from the air, the monster appeared standing in its place, continuing to laugh madly, thinking it had crushed them and turned them into frozen pieces. But its laughter stopped abruptly, as if choked in its throat, replaced by features of shock and disbelief, for its eyes detected a faint, mysterious glow emanating quietly from amidst the thick, dissipating smoke. The vision cleared to reveal him standing firm as a mountain without a single scratch, while the system screen flashed before him. Class activated, Frost Physique,
which doubled his resistance and completely blocked the attack. The monster took a step back in shock at the failure of his ultimate attack, growling with denial and anger. "What?" his companion asked in utter bewilderment from behind him. "Chen, this brute strength, what happened to you? Weren't you a lightning element assassin?" he added with widening shock in his eyes. "Don't tell me you're one of the rare ones who possess dual classes." He looked at him with a terrifying calm, saying in an emotionless tone, "I'm sorry. I misjudged the situation, and because of me you were exposed to mortal danger." His eyes gleamed with lethal resolve, adding with mountain-crushing confidence. "But this ends now." He switched his class again in a fraction of a second, causing the ominous system message to appear. Class change complete. Abyss Demon Rakshasa. His transformation was fully complete, appearing in a savage, majestic form that sends shivers down the spine. Then he slowly drew his weapon, signaling death. Finally, he announced with a voice as sharp and cold as frost, "I will end this battle right now." He surprised his comrade with a terrifying and unprecedented transformation, for his aura changed once more, revealing a power that transcends all laws of reality. His friend's eyes widened and his voice trembled as he thought to himself with bitter honesty. The rules are as clear as the sun. Every awakened possesses only one combat class in their life. The only exception is the appearance of an awakened with dual classes out of every 10 million people. There are only 10 of them in the entire world. The major guilds fight and pay billions to recruit anyone who possesses dual classes, let alone what I'm seeing before my eyes right now. He froze completely like a stone statue and screamed in hysterical bewilderment. "1, 2, Chen, did you just summon 3 combat classes?" He pointed with his trembling hand, counting in a breakdown. "The first is Lightning Assassin." Then he took a step back, continuing with a shaky voice. "And the second is the Cloud class." He stared at the dark figure standing before him, asking in panic. "And the last is this terrifying class.
Raksha?
Amid this clamor, he gathered his maximum energy, changing the color of the atmosphere around him, and said with decisive sharpness, "I will end this right now." He lunged with lightning speed, leaving behind a trail of blue light mixed with shadows. In a moment of fatal realization, the monster abruptly stopped moving, finding him suspended above him like inevitable destiny. His friend watched the scene with bated breath, saying in shock, "The monster's terrifying aura has completely vanished before Chen's presence." He continued in absolute awe. The king's confidence and arrogance have turned into true, trembling terror before Chen's sword. He lunged with a decisive strike, letting out a cry that shook the foundations of the place. Triple gravity disaster! Die! With a single strike, the battle that seemed impossible ended, completely crushing the monster in the heart of the cave. The king's remains and ice bones scattered in the air like black snow. He violently plunged his sword into the ground, announcing the end of the fight with his usual calmness. The golden system message flashed before his eyes. Victory. EXP plus 5,000. Level up to 17. The notifications kept pouring in. Obtained. Icebone skewers. His comrade approached weakly, then fell to his knees, saying,
"Damn it, I should have expected that. You crushed a rank C boss with a single strike as if it was nothing." He asked him in icy calmness, "By the way, do you have enough energy to free our two colleagues?" To which his friend replied in shock, "Damn, I completely forgot about them." Then he ran quickly. "Hang in there, guys." He exploited everyone's distraction and looked toward the king's head where the hidden Devour sign appeared. He activated the technique immediately, and a bloody red aura emerged surrounding the boss's remaining pieces. He began absorbing the energy until the earth-shattering system notification appeared. Devourer complete. He immediately obtained the class Ice Chi Master and said inwardly with relief, "This is the first boss class acquisition outside the dream." He looked toward his companion, who was freeing the rest, and thought calmly, "The monitoring robot is frozen, and this hid my true abilities from the administration. We can get a perfect score without my secret being exposed." Suddenly, a strange flash appeared before him. The system announced, "Class level up. The Lightning Assassin gained an additional star for stat enhancement." His eyes widened, and he asked himself in bewilderment, "An additional star? Does raising the class level increase the star multiplier like this?" Scene 3. The elites struggle, and the myths snatching. Elsewhere, the opposing team was engaged in a cruel, bloody confrontation against the boss monster, Giant Man-Eater, rank D. The Gravity Boy screamed in despair while trying to pin the monster. "Is this really the power of a rank D boss? I can't hold it down any longer. Finish it off right now." The archer fired his arrows, panting with frustration. "I can't deal any damage. Its body is hard as steel." The Gravity Boy suddenly lost his control, so the monster broke free and knocked everyone away with a single crushing blow. The archer coughed up blood and said, "We haven't faced anything this powerful in our training. What do we do?" The Gravity Boy looked toward their leader and said, eager and desperate, "Guangting is our only hope. Is your energy fully charged?" He continued gathering his energy with his team's support, then said with arrogant confidence, "This is enough." He drew his blade and lunged with lightning speed like the light of a comet, piercing the monster's body skillfully. Explosive blade technique. He shouted decisively, "Tear!" And the boss's solid body exploded into scattered debris in seconds. The team cheered with joy. "Great job! You are a living legend, boss!" The monitoring robot announced coldly, "Congratulations to Guangting's team. You successfully cleared Dungeon D. Total time 35 minutes. His brother said with happiness and boasting. "Only 35 minutes! It is impossible for anyone to break this record." The Gravity Boy added joyfully, "This means our score is a full 150 points. We set a university record." He returned his blade to its sheath arrogantly and said, "Let's go. Let's hurry toward the exit and check the leaderboard to announce our dominance over first place." After emerging victorious, he looked at his luxurious watch and said with blinding arrogance, "It will take at least an hour for the rest of the teams to clear the simplest rank F dungeons." He observed the arena with condescending looks, completely ignoring the cries of the injured and the withdrawn, and added in a loud, provocative voice, "Anyone in the rest area right now is just a quitter and a coward."
A gloomy atmosphere weighed down by despair prevailed in the arena, where one of the students collapsed on his knees, crying and begging hysterically, despite coming out unharmed. "Please, don't kill me." Beside him, another female student collapsed crying, trembling as she said, "It was terrifying. Those monsters almost tore us apart alive." He turned towards this miserable scene, smiling with obvious mockery and gloating. At that moment, his cunning eyes caught the glimpse of Chen and his companions, sitting in complete calmness in one of the dark corners. He mocked them loudly to draw everyone's attention. "Oh, isn't this Chen's team? You withdrew early, you cowards, huh?" He advanced towards them with provocative steps and said sarcastically, "Where did your previous arrogance go, Chen? It turns out you are very weak." But he met him with a calm and silent look like the ocean. He didn't even bother to reply to his provocative words. Guang Ting interrupted his reckless brother, ordering him with decisive firmness. "Chen, come here immediately and stop this chattering." He adjusted his clothes with great care and said with anticipation, "The vice president has arrived. Stand behind me politely to greet him." At that moment, a man of overwhelming prestige appeared, advancing with confident steps and clapping warmly, saying, "Wonderful, absolutely wonderful." The vice president of the alliance continued in a loud, resonant voice, "I have witnessed an exceptional performance today at this institute."
He was accompanied by a high-level delegation, including the principal, the recruitment director Hyun, and Guan Lin. Guang Ting thought to himself with joy and triumph, "A man of such great authority is approaching to congratulate me personally." In moments that shook the shoe shine holder's cantankerous, he hurried to extend his hand, smiling with a respectful bow, and said, "It is a great honor for me to meet." But the shock was cruel and crushing, for Carl completely ignored him, walking past his extended hand as if he didn't exist. He headed directly and with brisk steps towards Chen's team, saying with a wide smile, "That was truly amazing, boy." While the young master's hand froze in the air like a foolish statue, Carl patted Chen's shoulder with admiration and added, "Absolute brilliance and unparalleled creativity on the battlefield." He announced with a fascination that shook the place, "You cleared a rank D dungeon in just 21 minutes. This is a record time that is difficult even for professional teams to achieve." Guang Ting's eyes widened in shock and thought to himself in deadly bewilderment, "What? These outcasts finished a rank D dungeon in just 21 minutes? This is absolutely impossible." Despite this immense praise, Chen maintained his icy calmness and began to analyze the identity of the man standing before him in silence and caution. He thought to himself with focus and caution, "This is Carl Cavendish, the second most powerful man in the entire world and the vice president of the alliance personally." Carl asked with a wide smile full of interest, "You are Chen, aren't you? My trip here was definitely not in vain as long as I have discovered a rare talent like you." Then the vice president turned towards the Guang family and said with cold diplomacy, "Ah, right. The young master of the Guang family did well, too. Like father, like son, Guang Lin." The father bowed with a strained, courteous smile and said, "You exaggerate your praise, sir." But deep down he was burning with anger and thought with resentment, "Damn this humiliating situation." And Carl quietly asked for permission to leave and said, "Well, it is getting late and I must return to resume my work." The principal whispered to him with indescribable joy, "We have found a true treasure. Discovering two exceptional geniuses in one batch is something that does not come a day every day." Recruitment Director Zwan stepped up to the podium and announced in a loud, echoing voice, "I will now announce the final results. Since both teams achieved a full 150 points, I declare a tie for first place, and all members are qualified to immediately join the Imperial Guild." Chen's comrades erupted in celebration and joy as Ma Long hugged Xiang Yu, screaming with tears of joy, "We did it! We've entered the Imperial Guild!" While Chen remained standing with his usual calmness. On the other side, the opposing team celebrated securing their prestigious seats, but their leader was drowning in suppressed anger, and a bitter feeling of defeat was tearing his pride apart. Zwan continued his official announcement, saying, "Also, the two leaders, Guang Ting and Chen, will be appointed to senior administrative positions within the guild." He concluded his speech with shocking news. As for the MVP prize, estimated at 1 million coins, it will be divided equally between them. causing the features of both leaders to drastically change upon hearing this. He furrowed his brows in slight annoyance, calculating precisely in his mind. Only 500,000? I promised to pay back the full million within a month. I must find a way to gather the remaining half. Meanwhile, his rival broke the absolute silence and screamed with blind rage. I refuse this humiliating tie! First place must belong to only one person! He stared directly into his opponent's eyes with a fiery challenge and said in a resounding voice, So, Chen, I challenge you here and now to a one-on-one duel to settle this matter.
This sudden and bloody challenge shocked all the attendees in the arena, leaving them in a state of absolute bewilderment. The Alliance officials and the Institute's administration froze from the sheer magnitude of the uncalculated surprise. Zwan whispered to his nephew with suppressed anger and fear of a scandal.
The test is already over. What is this nonsense you are spouting? Accept this tie and don't embarrass us in front of the Vice President.
Umbriel intervened with a calmness that erased all this tension, and his eyes gleamed with lethal confidence. He asked directly and without any evasion. So, if I win this duel, do I get the full million prize to myself? The director was surprised by his quick and practical response, saying in bewilderment, What? Did he just agree to a suicidal fight? His rival replied with mad enthusiasm and blazing anger. The victor takes it all. Take it all if you can truly defeat me. Upon hearing this exciting development, Carl stepped back from leaving and smiled with passion, saying, Interesting, it seems the entertaining show is not over yet. An atmosphere of enthusiasm and anticipation ignited in the arena once again, as everyone held their breath in preparation for the clash. Their gazes met with a spark-igniting challenge, and he asked with his terrifying calmness, Then tell me, how do you want us to settle this duel? Inside the luxurious office of the guild, he leaned back in his comfortable chair with a wide, admiring smile, saying in a tone full of satisfaction, At first, I thought you would only get first place, but I never expected you to break all the records and achieve a perfect score. He nodded his head in relief and continued confidently. Your picture is now headlining all the news broadcasts. It seems I have invested my money in exactly the right person. Consider me your secret investor. As for the $1.5 million, you are completely exempt from repaying it. It is a grant from me to you. He met this generous offer with a cold, superficial calmness, hiding behind it a sea of precise thoughts and calculations. He looked up and said with firmness and an indisputable, piercing gaze, Oh, no, I must repay every penny I owe. He took a slow step forward and added in a steady voice, Today, I came here specifically to tell you 2 important things. He clarified his first demand seriously. The first matter concerns the deadline. I request that you grant me an extra week for repayment. Implicitly indicating that the tie result had reduced his share of the prize money by half, he added with unwavering confidence. So, I will engage in a tiebreaker match to settle this tie with the other top achiever. It will take place in 1 week at the Demon Lair, which is a dangerous wild lair outside the Institute's walls. At that moment, the Guildmaster's smile completely vanished, and he said with shock, his eyes bulging, What? You are just students. Are you going to enter the real Demon Lair? He continued with deep concern as he stood up from his chair. But you haven't received any professional training to survive there. This is certain suicide. It is an extremely dangerous place. But he stood before him like an iceberg, unaffected by a single word. He reassured him with absolute calm and confidence. There is no need for all this worry. I will obtain the remaining half of the prize as soon as I win, and I will give you all the rare materials acquired from inside the lair as generous interest in exchange for delaying the repayment for 1 week. He listened to this crazy offer and thought to himself in utter bewilderment. He is not even afraid of entering the real demon lair filled with death, and all that truly occupies him is repaying his debt? He continued his thought with terrifying certainty. This boy is an exceptional and terrifying being who surpasses all my imaginations and expectations. Suddenly, his tone changed to become more serious and dark, narrowing his eyes as he said in a low voice, Now, we come to the second matter for which I came, which is a much more important matter. The remaining details of his speech were deliberately obscured, leaving the scene restricted to observing the radical change in the reaction, where the features of the Guildmaster gradually shifted from curious interest to a strong shock and hidden terror.
This deliberate concealment left a heavy, suspicious mystery hanging over the room, foreshadowing the revelation of a grave secret that will turn the scales of the upcoming events and battles upside down. At the same time, the scene shifted spatially and temporally to a sunny afternoon at the middle school, where she yawned with great relief as she stretched, saying with childish joy,
"Ah, the final exam is finally over. Summer vacation officially begins now."
While casually scrolling through her phone, she suddenly stopped and whispered, remembering,
"Oh, right. Today is my older brother's graduation day."
Her gaze softened and filled with nostalgia as she contemplated a picture of her brother on the phone screen, recalling a warm scene from the recent past when her brother ran towards her with rare enthusiasm and said,
"Scion, I have just been accepted into the National Awakened University."
The young girl hugged him tightly and said with overwhelming joy,
"Wow, brother, you are truly amazing. You will become a wonderful and strong awakened like Mom and Dad."
At that moment, he pledged with determination filling his eyes, "I will join a major guild and make a lot of money to ensure you a safe life and a better future." He added in a deep voice burdened with responsibility, "And perhaps I will then be able to uncover the truth behind our parents' mysterious disappearance." She rejoiced in that moment, fascinated by the strength and determination of her brother, whom she considered her absolute hero. Then the happy memory transitioned to collide with a harsh recent moment when she remembered his face when he said with a tired, broken smile about his delayed awakening. "It's okay," he added, trying to hide his deep pain. "It seems I just need to work harder to make up for it." She returned to reality, sadly realizing that behind his constant calm was a heavy pain tearing him apart, thinking to herself, "My brother has always been the most dedicated and hard-working, but he was the only one who failed to awaken. Seeing all his peers succeed around him must have made him feel a cruel and bitter loneliness." She completed her thought with held-back tears. "Yet he hid his pain with a fake smile to spare me the worry. He never showed his brokenness and weakness in front of me."
Her sad daydreaming was interrupted by her friend running towards her with breathless enthusiasm. She said with intense eagerness,
"Hey, Sion, did you hear the latest resounding news? This year, the Awakened University produced two very rare geniuses. Both achieved the impossible perfect score, and even the vice president of the Alliance praised them personally."
Then she asked her with innocent spontaneity,
"Doesn't your brother study at that university too?"
Before she could answer, an arrogant boy with pink hair interrupted them, saying with slimy calmness, "Good afternoon, Xiaoyun. I have booked an expensive private room at the Zifeng Tower tonight. You will be free to have dinner with me, won't you?" Her friend asked in bewilderment at this offer.
"Huh? Since when do you know the handsome rich schoolboy?"
While she refrained from answering and looked down with frustration and distress. Without uttering a word, she fled, running away from them, tears gathering in her eyes. Her friend called out from behind in extreme astonishment.
"Sion, where are you going?"
She thought bitterly as she ran.
"Everyone around him is making great achievements, while my poor brother can't even awaken. How cruel this world is."
She wiped her tears and resisted her sadness with a firm decision. "I must hurry home now and cook him a huge feast to console him and lift his broken spirits." Night fell, and he sat quietly in front of a table full of various carefully prepared delicious dishes. He asked in surprise as he looked at the food, "Sion, when did you manage to cook all this massive amount? The food looks truly amazing." She sat in front of him, maintaining a warm silence laden with consolation and hidden pity. Meanwhile, the television in the background was broadcasting an important news report, as the anchorwoman said in an official tone. "Breaking, Dongxing University's assessment concluded today with the graduation of exceptional students." She thought to herself as she watched him eat. "As I expected, my brother is pretending to be strong and solid in front of me again." The failing the graduation exam is undoubtedly a fatal blow to his future, but as usual, he doesn't show his brokenness. Her thoughts were interrupted by the anchorwoman's voice continuing enthusiastically. "Where we witnessed the graduation of two genius champions who achieved a perfect score for their teams in a historical precedent," she added. "And Mr. Cavendish praised their amazing performance, but he singled out with favor and admiration one of the two leaders who had a flawless performance." Then the anchorwoman announced the earth-shattering name. "It is the young student Si Chen."
Her eyes widened in absolute shock that almost stopped her heart, and she glared at the television screen in bewilderment, completely unable to comprehend. She whispered weakly and in disbelief as she looked at her brother sitting in front of her. A perfect score? The student Si Chen? My brother is the genius they're talking about? The scene suddenly cuts to transport us to a dark, cold location where a father stands furious as a demon over his son who is thrown on the ground and covered in his blood after a severe beating. He screamed with blind rage that shook the walls. This stage I prepared specifically for you and your brilliance, and the audience came to see your coronation. But you, idiot, ruined all the arrangements. You lost to a nobody and became a pathetic failure. His pride was completely crushed under his father's cruel words and blows, and he remained thrown on the ground, helpless and broken, unable to reply. He issued his final verdict with strictness that accepts no appellation. As of this moment, you have been stripped of all your decisions and freedom. Then he revealed his dark plan in a low, scary voice. I have arranged everything in advance for the tiebreaker match scheduled next week at the Demon Lair. He announced his taking charge with a look dripping with evil. I will handle this matter myself as long as you are helpless and weak. Whatever the price and whoever dies, the Guang family remaining at the top is an inevitable and absolute matter.
She slowly turned towards her brother, her eyes widening with curiosity mixed with deep shock, asking with a trembling voice,
Brother, the Si Chen they just mentioned on TV, is it you?
He raised his gaze from his plate with icy calmness, answering with a confident, decisive smile that leaves no room for doubt. Yes, that is correct. What is the matter? Her hand trembled violently from the sheer magnitude of the shock, dropping her spoon to fall onto the wooden table with a resounding noise that broke the silence.
Clatter!
Her gaze froze in absolute bewilderment, thinking to herself as she struggled to comprehend the scale of his impossible achievement.
This is unbelievable.
She continued in her heart with tongue-tying astonishment.
My dear brother, in the cruel graduation exam, not only did he lead his team to victory, but extracted direct praise from the vice president of the Global Alliance. He really did it.
An astonished, heavy silence fell over the entire room after the shocking confession, as if time had stopped. She slowly bowed her head, hiding her eyes burdened with conflicting emotions that words failed to describe. Then she silently wiped the hot tears of joy, so this great truth could finally settle in her conscience. She thought to herself as a bright smile returned to adorn her lips.
My foolish brother, he has finally reached the top. He surpassed everyone in a single step.
The scene abruptly cuts to the night of June 17th, the day of the decisive assessment. Inside a highly luxurious secret dining room, the vice president relaxed in his comfortable seat like an absolute ruler. He cut a slice of Wagyu beef with utter coldness and said, As I expected, the Wagyu beef in this country is the best. What is the status of the investigation, Yuan? From among the shadows of the dark room, she stood with a deadly calmness that reflected her professionalism and danger. She advanced slowly and pushed a coded black file across the luxurious table, saying in a low voice, This is all the secret documents we have gathered. She continued with strict seriousness. That blazing target has left no significant trace behind throughout the entire past year. She added with flawless practical coldness. I absolutely believe that our close monitoring of the target has been exposed. He ignored this intelligence failure with complete indifference, saying, Good job. Have some meat first and rest. But she completely ignored his invitation and firmly prepared to announce a new fact that turns the scales. She changed her tone to a warning seriousness, narrowing her eyes like a hawk, saying, But there is something else. Recently, I identified an extremely dangerous individual. He just contacted you. She explained the extent of his danger in a terrifying whisper. In this very short time, his record-breaking evolution rate, she finished her words in a blood-freezing tone, breaks all familiar laws of natural life in a completely unnatural way. The scene shifts radically to take us to the depths of the Tower of Darkness, where he panks amidst mountains of ghostly monster corpses, muttering, I've spent more than half a month on the first floor of this cursed tower. I exterminated almost every monster here.
He continued with relief as he wiped the sweat from his forehead. Now the burdens of the harsh gravity have completely vanished after I finally adapted to it being 10 times the normal gravity. At that moment, the luminous system screen popped up to display his stats. System, Level 17, Class, Lightning Assassin. He contemplated his blue interface, thinking deeply. The Lightning Assassin class gained an extra star after the graduation exam. This means repeated use increases proficiency, even though my classes haven't reached their maximum limits yet. He continued his precise calculations. So I invested that star in enhancing the speed attribute without a shred of hesitation, as it is the most important weapon for any assassin.
The system confirmed this upgrade immediately. Speed times 4 equals 740. He smiled maliciously and said,
My speed multiplier has jumped to a mythical number. My current speed equals an experienced rank A assassin.
But despite his mighty speed breaking the sound barrier, he found himself fiercely cornered in a deadly angle. He was surrounded by a ferocious pack of ghostly lionesses, while the true danger lurked quietly behind them. He stared with sharp eyes at the massive monster lurking far away and said through gritted teeth,
And yet, I am still unable to land a single strike on the floor master.
Without prior warning, the lionesses pounced abruptly towards him like a storm of claws and fangs. He moved like a flashing blue lightning to dodge their attack, and during the bloody clash, he detected a terrifying combat tactic. This tactic was related to the Lion King himself. Whenever he found a loophole to overcome him and reach him, he thought angrily as frustration gnawed at him.
This king's ability is strange and very provocative. Whenever I try to attack him, he evaporates instantly right before my strike hits him directly.
He realized bitterly that the boss does not dodge like the rest of the monsters, but teleports instantly to evaluate the battle and direct it from a safe distance. He rationally analyzed the pack's tactic amid the chaos, saying,
The lionesses change their positions with mathematical precision and continuously.
He continued his rapid analysis.
They maintain a steady defensive and offensive formation. 2 engage with me directly, and the rest lurk as a defensive line to intervene.
He narrowed his eyes in anger and provocation,
while the king simply manages the battle from afar like a cowardly chess commander.
He became absolutely certain that the master controlled every string in this battle, and in the midst of a lioness rushing towards him to devour him, he blocked it with terrifying quick reflexes, directing a devastating thunderbolt towards it with a deafening buzzing sound. Bzzzt! The pure electrical strike settled into its open mouth, and victory seemed close and within reach, but right before landing the finishing blow, the lioness evaporated in a mysterious pink flash, leaving him striking a mirage in the air. He was struck by the scene and thought with shocking realization,
This again. The teleportation skill is not limited to the boss alone.
He continued with widening shock.
All the lionesses possess it. Whenever I am about to kill a lioness, it vanishes and appears unharmed next to the cursed king.
He finished decoding their tactic, and in the very next moment, a replacement lioness rushes in to tempt me to attack, to completely drain my energy.
He growled and unleashed raging lightning storms again in a desperate attempt to tear apart this perfect coordination, directing rapid slashing strikes unseen by the naked eye, but to no avail, no matter how perfect they were. The ghostly monsters always disappeared with supreme skill a fraction of a second before his charged blades touched them. The terrifying matter seemed as if the movements of the entire pack were governed and directed by a single connected mind. The fierce claws rained on his body with consecutive strikes, forcing him into a continuous retreat and defense, and whenever his counterstrike locked onto its target, the lionesses instantly vanished like smoke. The ferocious pack swapped roles with absolute fluidity through the pink teleportation portals, imposing a suffocating siege around him that left no loophole to breathe or counterattack. He continued his precise and rapid blocking of their endless attacks with stubborn persistence, but the pack's vicious cycle proved unbreakable, and he said while panting in pouring sweat, "Attack, disappear, reposition, attack again. It is an endless cycle designed to drain my strength to death." He poured sweat as the bloody rhythm of the battle escalated, while keeping his hateful gaze fixed on the cowardly Lion King. He realized with clear bitterness and thought, "This cunning scoundrel manipulates me as he pleases and has turned me into a prey in a losing war of attrition." He retreated a distance backwards, and in a moment of sudden mental clarity, he realized the fatal flaw in his combat approach. His eyes widened and he thought, asking intelligently, "Wait a minute, why am I trying to outmatch them with speed? A rapid attack is useless to strike enemies who teleport to avoid direct confrontation." He decided to turn the tables and completely change his strategy without delay, and the system announced with a blue flash, "Class change." Solid ice crystallized around him like an impenetrable shield, completely transforming his appearance as a cold, terrifying energy that froze the air in the room. His eyes glowed with a scary blue flash, and he smiled with deadly coldness, saying, "Since you do not wish to face me head-on like assassins, why don't I use a mage class to deal with you and impose my absolute dominance over the battlefield as a mage of mass destruction?" At that decisive moment, the system announced the success of the ominous transformation. Class change complete. Level 17. Class Ice Lich Master.
He soared high in the sky and unleashed a large-scale magical spell, shouting in a resounding voice, "Frost spikes!" A dense barrage of giant ice spikes rained down like deadly rain, pounding the earth with destructive force. The successive ice explosions turned the battlefield into a white hell, forcing the ghostly lionesses to scatter and retreat aimlessly. He observed this utter chaos from his high altitude and thought confidently, "The power of the mage class never lies in direct engagement, but in dominance, crowd destruction, and absolute control over the course of the battle." He focused entirely on his direct attack towards the cowardly Lion King, unleashing a concentrated barrage of ice towards him with deadly precision. As he expected, the monster evaporated instantly, as usual, to escape the deadly strike, and appeared far away in a spot he thought was safe, breathing a sigh of relief for his temporary survival. But he was one step ahead of him. As soon as the monsters gathered to escape the bombardment, an inescapable massive vortex of ice energy swept over them. He smiled with an icy coldness, certain of the success of his plan and the tightening of the trap, and said, "And once I push you all inside my kill zone." At that moment, the Lion King sensed inevitable doom and glared at the sky in absolute terror. His eyes caught him crystallizing a giant, terrifying explosion of energy right above their heads. He prepared his bomb, saying with a soul-shaking voice, "Ice Explosion Bomb," and announced with a decisive, merciless coldness, "You will have nowhere to run." The Lion King let out a desperate roar after it was too late. Roar! He threw his bomb with a decisive strike, and a terrifying, blinding explosion resounded the moment it hit the ground. The explosion flooded the entire area with freezing energy and a sweeping white glow that swallowed everything. The bright light slowly cleared, revealing a scene where the Lion King and his entire pack were frozen like motionless glass statues. He immediately switched his class without wasting a second, and the familiar system message appeared. Class change complete. Level 17, Abyss Demon, Rakshasa. The glowing pink sword of Rakshasa appeared in his grip, and he descended with inevitable nightmare towards the ground. He announced with total confidence as he lunged, "The battle on the first floor of the Tower of Darkness ends here completely." He delivered a crushing sword strike and said, "Triple disaster overload mode." The glowing blade split the frozen monsters effortlessly, tearing them apart with a strike of total annihilation. The monster statues shattered one after another and scattered into nothingness like dust, leaving him standing tall and victorious beside the shattered corpse of the Lion King. The system documented his crushing victory and announced, "Level up to 24, victory," and announced the precious loot. Obtained, Ghost Lion Bone, Ghost Lion Heart. Then a new notification appeared allowing him to devour the corpse of the fallen boss. He mounted the massive corpse with confident steps and extended his hand saying, "And now, tell me, Lion King." He activated the Devour technique and said in a low voice, "What is your combat class really?" He focused his mind to understand the monster's wondrous abilities in dodging and teleportation. He pulled a dark red energy vortex writhing from the heart of the corpse and condensed it forcefully into the palm of his hand to absorb it completely, to have the system show an amazing new class card. Acquired class, Astral Beast Tamer. The interface revealed its unique skills. Skill, Astral Soul Contract. Skill, Astral Path Leap. Confirming that his abilities relied on absolute control and spatial manipulation, he was stunned and said,
A tamer's class? This is the first time I've seen a class like this. Now I understand the full picture of the confrontation. He analyzed the previous combat situation, saying, "No wonder he never faced me head-on. The continuous evasion was for survival, not just a combat tactic." He acknowledged the monster's fundamental weakness. It turns out his base stats are too weak for direct combat, so he relied solely on his beasts to deal damage, and admitted the true power of his skill. The ability to travel through space is terrifying and very useful for teleportation and evasion, and classify it seriously, saying, "It is undoubtedly one of the most dangerous skills I have faced so far." He analyzed the other skill and thought deeply. The contract skill allows him to force monsters to sign contracts of loyalty with him, but it requires a deterrent force. Absolute submission must be imposed through intimidation to subdue any monster to my contract. Suddenly, the illusory astral void surrounding them shattered like broken glass, revealing the true reality of the first floor. Beneath him appeared a scorching, barren desert stretching endlessly beneath a blazing sun. He wondered with surprise as he contemplated his surroundings. The floor is changing. Is this the original form of this floor? It is very desolate. What happened here to crush it like this? His thoughts were interrupted by a strange clicking sound coming from a nearby sand dune. A glowing rift appeared and expanded to become a fiery portal. He said, "The door to the second floor has finally appeared. This is my next path." And before he took a single step, he was stopped by a faint, broken growl from behind. He turned around, prepared to fight, using his sharp senses to scan the area and ensure it was clear. He spotted a faint pink glow hidden inside the shattered ribcage of a massive monster, revealing a small white lion cub taking a desperate defensive stance, despite being bound by heavy rocky chains. He lowered his weapon in surprise, softening his intensity, and said, "A lone lion cub? It seems I missed one in the massacre." He formed his lightning dagger in his hand and approached slowly and cautiously. He analyzed the situation and thought with focus. "I killed the king and annihilated his pack, but this cub did not disappear. This means he is not his follower and does not have a contract with him." He looked closely at the glowing chains that bounded cruelly. He prepared to attack and said, "It is bound by astral chains. Did the king lock him here as a hostage or reserve food?" The cub froze in terror in its place, waiting for its inevitable death at the hands of this terrifying human. But Chen slowly raised his hand and shattered the chains with a light energy pulse, freeing the cub from its captivity. The exhausted cub collapsed onto the hot desert sand, breathing with difficulty. He turned his back and said with a calmness not devoid of empathy, "I will grant you your freedom." He asked the cub who was watching him in absolute silence, "Is this a ruined place your home?" He understood its pain and said in a warm tone, "A lonely and completely destroyed home. I know this feeling very well." He fell silent for a moment, remembering his past, and said, "It might be a bit lonely and you lose all purpose to live." He ordered it strictly without turning back. "But you will be able to survive and overcome this. I must head to the next floor now." And in that touching moment, the glowing system interface surprised him and popped up right in front of his face. The wondrous message shocked him. Astral Soul contract request. Since the other party initiated the request voluntarily, success rate 100%. Unlocking passive skills. 1. Shared experience for growth. 2. Vision through the beast's eyes in times of danger. He turned slowly and asked in disbelieving shock, "Huh?" Finding the white cub sitting completely still behind him, looking at him with steadfastness and loyalty, awaiting his decision, the system notification appeared to confirm what was happening. "The future Lion King, Leo, requests to sign the contract. Do you accept him to become your companion?" He turned towards the small lion and looked at him completely seriously, asking him in a deep voice, "Do you really want to come with me on this path?" The cub nodded his small head slowly and let out a faint roar to confirm his decision and determination. He warned him with strictness not devoid of worry. "I will storm the floors of the Tower of Darkness one by one, and with each new floor, the monsters will become fiercer and bloodier." He added to emphasize the gravity of the danger. "You might be severely injured or even killed at any moment. Have you truly thought about this?" The little beast replied with firm gestures unfitting for his size and roared steadily and confidently. Their eyes met calmly in the middle of that barren desert, and he smiled lightly, saying, "All right, then I accept the contract." At that moment, a hidden magical symbol flashed inside his eyes, announcing the completion of the agreement in the soul bond, and the system announced with a blue flash, "Astral Soul contract with Lion King Leo successfully documented." A holographic screen immediately appeared, displaying the cub's detailed status with coded data flowing before his eyes, and another glowing notification appeared. Shared passive skills activated. He looked towards his new companion and said enthusiastically, "All right then, let's head towards the unknown," and advised him like a seasoned leader, "Make sure to protect yourself and stay away when I'm in the heat of battle." To which the cub replied with a faint, obedient growl, "Ow." Then they stepped together through the glowing fiery portal towards the next floor, but he was shocked and froze in his tracks the moment he entered the second floor, for he found before him raging rivers of molten volcanic lava, emitting a suffocating heat that burned the lungs. He wiped the profuse sweat from his forehead and said with intense annoyance, "It's so hot, I feel like I'm going to melt and dissolve here." Meanwhile, the cub approached the edge with stupid childish curiosity, trying to touch the volcanic lava with his claws. He pulled him back and narrowed his eyes, wondering cautiously, inwardly cautious wondering, what kind of terrifying monsters will I face in this hellish environment?
And suddenly, without any prior warning, he was interrupted by a treacherous attack whose speed surpassed absolute human perception. And even before his eyes blinked or he showed any defensive reaction, an unknown fast object completely pierced his body, tearing him apart mercilessly in a fraction of a second. He thought to himself in terrifying shock before his breath faded and died. I was killed before I even saw what killed me.